We are live, ladies and gentlemen, welcome! It's AMX action once again from Oran Park and MOTORLAND Aragon. Today we will start it out, of course, with the incredible Renault Clio Cup in the track that isn't anymore down under, and then after that we will move to Spain, to the one of the newest tracks in racing, of course, with the Porsche Cup car. I am Marco Barbanera, your co-commentator. Your main voice is going to be Brad.
Hey Marco, how are you doing? This is going to be a fun one, and also you said new haircut today, right?
New haircut, new color, all good to go.
I love it. I do want to take a second and point out the new little logo down here. If I can, we'll get my finger to work right about there. We are, of course, partnered with KARA and FIA, and we are now officially a member of the FIA. It's been a long time in the works. Lots of things have gone on behind the scenes, so shout out to everybody back at home base in Korea for making that happen. So you've been wondering about that here in AMX. That is now official, and Marco, that is a big deal.
It is absolutely a big deal, especially because the partnership between the local, automobile clubs and associations and the sim racing world is something that has been a long time coming, and only just lately getting kicked off in Europe, especially first with Germany. Italy followed suit. I, of course, have been involved in in the very first meeting for the Italian Automobile Club, and by proxy, the FIA getting involved with Italian sim racing. And it's nice to have it expanded all over the world, because this gives the chance to have, of course, official competition prizes. For example, in Italy, when you win the iRacing leagues that are sponsored and promoted by the Automobile Club of Italy, you can call yourself the champion of Italy, which comes with all nice recognitions. You get to put on your car like a Italian flag, a special decorated, and you get prizes, of course. And you get, of course, in Italy, at the end of year awards for the Italian Motorsport Association. Even the sim drivers get invited on the stage with the real life drivers to get their trophies. And all, of course, this gets his stewarding in, more professionalism. So it's a fantastic move forward. Very proud that AMX has gotten the ball rolling for Korea as well in this regard.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big deal. And of course, more news to come on that as the weeks move forward, as the races move forward, and as that gets solidified through for how the stewarding will work and everything. But of course, let's go ahead and touch on the bit of housekeeping here, Marco, shall we? About how the league works, how the streams work, and how everything goes. So, cue it over to this fun little background, and let's get things going here and talk about the AMX Season 3 overview, Marco. It's September 20th to December 10th, $25,000 prize pool, most races in the year, most variety of car and track combos, and of course, if you see someone else doing this, they got the idea from us. Race format, 15-minute qualifier around a 15 to 20-minute heat, and we, of course, invert the grid between qualifying and both heats. The prize amounts will stay the same through every single one of those. Regardless of where you finish in qualifying, Heat 1 or Heat 2, you're going to get paid out if you are in the top 15, which is very, very big deal. And it's how we get to that $25,000 plus prize pool here in Season 3. Of course, AMX 0, if you turn on your driver cam, it's an extra dollar. AMX 10, it is required to be paid for your prizes. Of course, balances over $100 are paid out each month, and race days are Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you want to get involved, amxrace.com is the place to sign up. Looking here at the schedule, you might be saying, well, when do we race? Of course, daylight savings time has kind of convoluted things a bit, but Wednesdays, 6:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday and Sunday, 11:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting time for qualifying. And then we move on to AMX 10 at 1:20 p.m. shortly thereafter. And of course, if Eastern Standard Time isn't your thing, we do, of course, have those times converted over for our friends of the Central European persuasion. And that is, of course, a nice 5:50 p.m. starting time for AMX 0, the 7:20 p.m. time for AMX 10. Thursdays, you're going to be burning the midnight oil, but hey, we love to have you here anyways. And we've got several drivers that join us at that midnight time that are pretty successful. And of course, looking ahead here at how we pay those prizes, because of course now I have your interest. Here we go. This is the AMX Zero prize pool. First place of qualifying, $7 all the way down to 20 cents for 15th place. Then we're going to invert the top 15, $7 again if you work your way back up to the top in Heat 1. Invert the top 15 again, and then it's $7 again for top of Heat 2. Prizes are, of course, the same all the way through quali and both heats. But we pay an extra $1 for the fastest lap. And of course, turn on your cam, join the Zoom link that you can find in the Discord or at amxrace.com, and you get that extra $1 for having the camera on. It's $100 in the camera prizes given out every single time we take the track, and you pay nothing for AMX Zero. Now, of course, we're not just going to hit you with some money. If you are the top of AMX Zero, you get the GT Lite Pro from our friends at Next Level Racing. That is a big deal there. That is a nice, fun little foldable sim cockpit that you can strap everything to, and it is very comfortable, very fun to drive, and would make a great addition to the winter here in AMX Zero. Now, taking a look at our top 12 here, currently as we sit, Corentin Gunez and Jackson Resenje are the ones that are battling it out for the top of AMX Zero here. $225.90 to Corentin Gunez, Jackson Resenje $165.40. You can see all the way down through there. Gerardo Ramos has been making a name for himself here in AMX. Cal Gaspar, Gaston Colhavi, Fabrizio Belziti has been doing very strong. You can see all the way down to Facundo Rago and Pedro Mora, who are at $75 respectively, roughly. And it's just a big spread through. And of course, we pay out winnings over $100. So you might be saying, well, what's the average on that? You know, where are we averaging things out? How much money do I stand to earn for each race I run? Well, Kieran Harrison has averaged $13.51 for the 8 races he's ran. And of course, our points leader, Corentin Gunez, $13.29 in 17 races. So you think about that, you're averaging $12 to $13 a race. That means every 9 or 10 races, you're going to earn enough money to get paid out. And of course, you can see all the way through there for our top 12 earners are all averaging close to that $10 mark. And now, looking at all of that, we are going to go to the overhead. And Marco, I am going to turn it over to you and let you introduce Oran Park and the car that we are going to take over Oran Park with.
Thank you so much, Brad. Yes, we are in Oran Park, a track that is not in real life anymore active. It's been demolished, but beautifully preserved in laser scan precision by iRacing. Opened in 1962, it's a lovely figure-8 racetrack, very, very small, with basically, compact, small. There will be a lot of interesting side-by-side elevation changes. Certainly an old-school racetrack. I'm so happy that iRacing has preserved it in laser scan fashion forever. And, mind you, it is also free now since like 2 years or so. So it's in the base package for every iRacing subscriber. It's a track that I think plays perfectly with the car that we're going to run tonight, because we are here in the lovely Renault Clio Cup, one of the latest cars introduced in iRacing. It is basically the entry-level car in the service, but also I think in real life as well. For front-wheel drive action, it has spawned several very competitive, incredibly well-attended national championships, and of course all over Europe it has been a springboard for many drivers go and race in categories for like BTCC, TCR, for example. And as you know, I always think that the front wheels should be the ones doing the working. So tonight I'm very happy to be able to commentate on some front wheel drive action. This changes completely the way the drivers will have to approach the track and the car, of course, because the axis you use for steering is also the axis where you put the power down. We can expect close battling all over the field. A fantastic car and track combination.
I do think this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm going to ask you, Marco, as a very, very familiar iRacing aficionado you are, what is the main difference between the Renault Clio Cup and the Mazda MX-5 in terms of driving, comfortability? They're both intro cars in the service now, so how do you pick which one you prefer?
Depends on what you want to do. I think, of course, as I was saying earlier, driving front wheel or rear wheel drive is a completely different cup of tea. And driving front wheel drive cars is really becoming more and more of a specialized thing to do in real life and in iRacing as well. Let's say that the MX-5, I think, especially the newest edition that has been upgraded recently in iRacing, it has got sequential gearbox as well. It had an H pattern before, so it's really a good entry level for cars that have a lot of power going to the back wheels, slipping and sliding. Not very easy to control, of course. There is no traction control either, so you move on from there, and maybe you can then start moving towards like GT4, GT3. As I was saying earlier, the Clio Cup instead. Basically, there are 3 front-wheel drive cars in iRacing as we speak right now. The Clio Cup, the TCR cars, and the Jetta, which has been sadly, and I say it not jokingly because it's one of my favorite cars, sadly retired a couple of months back. So you can move on from the Clio Cup TCR series, and of course the TCR series opened the door for you also to take part in the bi-weekly enduro races that follow more or less the calendar of the IMSA Pilot Challenge in real life. So, because TCR cars, what I love about them is that they are very, very, very eclectic. You can use them for short sprints, you can use them for, well, they also race in endurance races like the 24 hours of the Nordschleife, 24 hours of Dubai. So you start here in the Clio Cup, and hopefully you move on to a bit of TCR action later, or you can stay here in Clio Cup, because nowhere in iRacing it says that you need to move on. I've been racing the Skip Barber car for years now, and it's always a lot of fun. And the tracks, of course, in C-Class tracks on the ovals, again, amazing fun there as well. We can see Victor Miranda for Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan, 26 years of age, getting through qualifying, which has just started.
Yep, couple minutes into qualifying here. Victor Miranda, of course, a very, very well-known driver here in AMX. And Tony Kanaan, Esports, of course, a very, very well-known driver team here in AMX as well. They've built a very fine foundation here, of course. That includes Victor Miranda, that includes Jackson Resenje, who we are watching now. And these drivers always seem to be comfortable in any car they get into. Marco, you touched on kind of jumping from the Clios to the TCRs and then moving forward, into GTs. But this is really, I like it when we go back to basics at AMX. I like Oran Park because it is one of those rookie car tracks that's very basic and simple. Every driver should have some knowledge of this track, and I like it when we go to these simpler cars, the Clio Cups, the MX-5s, the Formula Vs. It's always fun to see kind of reset back because it produces some very, very close racing, produces some moments there, like that driver going off in front of Gerardo Ramos, and you get to see the driver's skill really come out. How do they handle these cars up front? If you're in the Discord, you saw there was a conversation about, hey, how do I really drive these cars? One of our drivers posted and said, how do I really drive this car? I can't seem to get a hold of this car. And it's always unique to me to see drivers, asking that, because it shows just how wide and varied the iRacing service can be for drivers. For example, I am a NASCAR driver in iRacing. I make left-hand turns. I drive open-wheel modifieds. There's drivers that I know in iRacing that only race on dirt and only race, sprint cars and late models. Marco, you said it yourself. You race Skip Barbers because they are a lot of fun. So I like seeing the variety of skill and challenge come out because it always produces good racing and good qualifying sessions. And of course, right now for our good qualifying, Corentin Gunez currently at a 1:14.029. And we can see here, Corentin Gunez very comfortable there in that Renault Clio Cup. And, Marco, it's always interesting to me to watch the drivers see the different driving styles because these cars demand, a bit of push to them with that front wheel drive because you're just pulling along the rest of the car for the front wheel drive. English is leaving me, even though it's my native language. You're pulling the car behind you, and it really you can have some fun moments in front wheel drive cars that you don't get otherwise.
Exactly. My favorite one being that, and we will for sure see it tonight. Later in this either race 1 or race 2, if there is a bit of contact, you go sideways, you stomp on the accelerator, and the car will point itself straight in the correct direction. Absolutely amazing. Somebody was asking what's coming in AMX 10. We are going to have the Porsche Cup car at MOTORLAND Aragon, one of the newest tracks in iRacing, so stay tuned for that. You hit it on the spot earlier. You were saying about how to drive these cars. Ironically, despite these cars being front-wheel drive, I think they also prepare yourself well for all those rear-wheel drive cars that don't have traction control, because you really need to learn how to feather the throttle in the most efficient way possible when you get inside a corner and then try to accelerate out of it. Because if you are too harsh on the throttle, the car simply will not steer, because it's trying to put down the power on the axis. And if you push too much, you will get massive understeer and the car will go into the gravel trap or the barriers. So this is really a big lesson in how to really feather the throttle, which is a skill that is overlooked, I think, in sim racing, but it can be, I think it's the most applicable technique across all disciplines. For example, on the ovals, massively important to do that. Saving tires, of course, and of course keeping the car balanced in the turns on the ovals. A lot of that comes out thanks to how well you can feather your throttle and how gentle you can be on those tires over the course of a run. And when you start racing, like cars like the F1 car or the Super Formula, all these cars that really rely at low speeds on the mechanical grip, and only when you start to go faster on the aerodynamic grip. So you need to keep the car on the track, and these cars will teach you that 100%.
These cars, the fun of them being intro cars too, is they will teach you how to be very, very brave in traffic. As we can see, Fernandez there, a newer driver to AMX, absolutely being brave with drivers coming out of the pits, drivers going off in front, and just absolutely holding on to things. Gaston Kulhavi, again, another driver that should be very familiar to any of you who are familiar with AMX. And if this is your first AMX broadcast, I want to welcome you on, because this is going to be some of the most fun you're going to have on a Saturday evening, Saturday afternoon, possibly Sunday morning, depending on where you're at in the world. But get ready for a lot of action coming up. We're halfway through qualifying here. And of course, remember, qualifying pays out money here. This is not just qualifying for the sake of a starting position. This is qualifying to earn some money and then just get your grid inverted. So if you qualify first place, like Gunes currently is sitting, you're going to drop all the way back. Gaston Kohlhavi sitting in P5 would drop back to P10 here. And that is going to be a fun time to watch. Gerardo Ramos seems to have that third sector under control. Marco, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to lean on you a lot because you are the iRacing aficionado here. What is the key to being fast at Oran Park? Of course, in the Renault Cups, it's all about conserving momentum, but Oran Park has some interesting things. It, of course, has the over-under of the Yokohama Bridge. It's got Champion Curve that goes uphill, the sweeper. You've got Foster's Dip in the mix. What is the key to being really, really fast here around this track that I wish still existed?
First thing, you said it already, conservation of momentum. The car requires it and the track requires it. Also, it's a track that I've noticed from driving around here, especially lately when it has been put on more schedules because it has become free. I'm one of the ones who paid for it, by the way, so just so you know, way back when. It's the lack of reference points. If you look around you, especially when you're on board, in the onboard cameras we'll see later, there is a lot of corners that have no reference points whatsoever, and in this case you have to create your own reference points. And the way you do that, of course, is by looking not at the landmarks around you, not at the shadows, because those can move, even though back in the day iRacing didn't have moving shadows because it didn't have dynamic weather and time of day. You have to look at the small things, like, I don't know, a bit of rubber laid down on the track, or like a patch of grass of different color. And since it's a track that's, again, not very popular and so rarely on the schedules, it's really interesting to see how these drivers will tackle it. And you can see the elevation changes. Sometimes you get through this section of corners here, for example, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go up. it's very difficult to also make out, where you are relative to the track and the next corner, and of course, eventually to traffic that's going to be in front of you, and of course the distinct lack of tarmac runoff areas, as it should be, makes you pay for every mistake you make. And this final corner, where if you take it just a little bit too wide, you become friends with I say that's a very, very big and very, very hard concrete wall with no safer barrier or tire barrier to speak of.
The fun of old tracks is they provide no real things in terms of safety advancement. Thankfully, we are in a simulator. And what does that mean for us? It means that if you wreck the car, you just press 2 buttons, you wait for a second, and you go back out on track. Of course, in real life, that only concrete wall doesn't fly in most areas anymore. And it's an interesting conversation starter many, many different ways. But that's the fun of iRacing, and it's why iRacing and simulators all around the world are very fun, because you can kind of just sit back and relax and learn. And that's not how you take that corner. Fabrizio Belziti, and now we jump back with Corentin Gunez. We'll give Belziti a moment there to gather himself back up and reset to the pits. Corentin Gunez 1:14.0, and look at that, he's flashing the headlights at the car ahead, saying, "Hey, I think I'm faster, watch out," and that's going to throw someone off. Oh, it's qualifying, but we still get action here. Who was that in front of him that went a bit swirly? That's the number 9 of Olivier, who is just trying to hold on there and not cause problems, and it looks like he's discovering that the back end of that car can snap out from you if you ask a little too much of the car in that weight transfer through the apex, which is interesting to see. But it also points out what you said earlier, Marco, about stomp on the throttle and you can straighten the car back out, because he was able to save that in a great show of car control. Absolutely.
We've got 3 minutes left in qualifying. Now, we were debating before going on air about the time and the laps. Usually the races are scheduled to be around 15 minutes of lap time, or 20 minutes as a time limit. Our calculations, your calculations, I should say, because my maths are terrible, suggest that maybe we are going to hit the time limit for this one before the lap limit. Therefore, this is going to be an interesting point, because, again, usually the races end in around 15 minutes from the moment of the green flag. We are going to the hard limit of 20 minutes here, quite possibly. And of course, that depends on where it falls. It's never 20 minutes exactly. It can be 20 minutes and 45 seconds, 21 minutes. This is very important, because it gives the drivers who will be reversed some, 3 or 4 more laps, basically, Brad, to get back and gain more positions.
Yeah, and it's going to add an interesting dynamic where we're running off a time limit, not a lap limit. So it's going to present a different sort of mindset, I think, because usually drivers will say, okay, I have 8 laps. I know what I need to do. We don't know how many laps we're going to run in this one. We can, you can calculate a minute 15 across 20 minutes and figure out how many laps you're probably going to run. But it does add a different sort of mindset, and it's one that you get in endurance racing a lot, where you have to remember, hey, car has to survive, I have to survive for the full 20 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Nico Godoy is in an all carbon fiber livery, I believe that is, and I really like the look of his car. Just side note, I really do like the look of that exposed carbon wrap that he has going on. Fun of iRacing liveries. But we're into the final minute of qualifying here, Marco, and Corentin Gunez seems to really have this secured. Lots of drivers resetting the pits here, so they will not be attempting to put in more time. But Nico Godoy currently sitting 15th of 16 drivers as he comes around the final corner, and it seems like he is trying to find time. The times are close. We're about 1.5 seconds between all 15 of our drivers here that have put in a time, which is not bad in terms of where we find qualifying on a shorter track like this. About 1.5 seconds between 15 drivers is a pretty close grid. When we invert that up, we should see some very close racing all the way through.
And with the hit format being employed inside of the iRacing service to basically get the format of the night going on the server, this means that in exactly 9 seconds, the cars will be unceremoniously booted off the racetrack and already into the gridding procedure for the race, and that's why we are seeing that drivers are taking for the side roads, and that's it for the quali session for the AMX 0 race of the day. And as you can see, Corentin Guinness in front of Gerardo Ramos and Fabio Zamperini, then it's Victor Miranda and Caio Gaspar, Jackson Hasenji, Jason Pulavi, Danilo Fernandez in front of Belziti and Zygmunt. Then we have Perwin, Hometown Boy, Pedro Mora, Diego Villarreal, Dorian Lelivre, new driver as you were saying earlier, Nico Godoy, and without a time is Simon Demori. And so, cars on the grid is going to be, of course, flipped on its head with Lelivre in second place and Godoy in first. And yeah, time to go racing basically already.
I want to point out that Corentin Guinness is really getting used to being our BenQ qualifying winner. I feel like every time I do a broadcast, I don't know about you, Marco, I know this is our first time broadcasting together this season, which is kind of really sad to say. Wish we'd broadcasted together sooner, but every time I feel like I do a broadcast, I feel like I always say Corentin Guinness is our BenQ session winner, and he is absolutely killing it here in AMX 0 all the way through. But now he's got to translate that to the heat, and as you and me both know, turn one can wreck anybody's day very quickly, especially with the double left-handers here at Oran Park as we get ready for green flag racing.
Yeah, no matter if you are 10,000 I rating or 1,000 I rating, a turn one crash is never good. We're waiting for the last cars to grid, either that or when we the limit of the 2 minutes for the gridding procedure, and then the starting lights will appear in front of the drivers and we will be ready to go.
You can hear the Clio Cups revving up. Everybody's getting ready for action here as we see, and there it is with the green. Nico Godoy is going to lead our way forward, but look at that, Diego Villarreal getting very swirly early on, trying to find some space through and around as we watch. Everybody's trying to settle up just those single file lines and hold on, and Nico Godoy just wants to make it through the first couple corners without getting hit in the back here. Side by side, Olivier and Villarreal as they go through, and still side by side, the voracious teammates there in the midfield. Everybody through 3 wide in the back, but it seems like the first 2 sweeping left-handers all the way through. Now we come through Shell Corner. This is going to be where we might see some action.
Oh, yeah.
As we see, it looks like there's somebody getting a little loose, some tire smoke. Somebody put the pedal down, and they held onto it there, Marco, over the champion curve into Yokohama Bridge for the first time. Look at that, the voracious racing drivers, Fabrizio Belziti and Luke Sigmund, still side by side all the way through there. Will they settle that out? I don't believe so. But Nico Godoy holding on to the lead here through the majority of lap 1 as we head down towards the dogleg into the dip. And this will be the lap 1 of who knows how many laps we have to go down.
We have a big crash.
Big crash, and I didn't have... Oh, there we go. Oh, what happened there, Marco? Because I actually missed that. I see Jackson Rasenje spun in the back, and I saw it looks like Kyle Gaspar went off as well, but I missed what started that.
I think a collision in the rear quarter panel as we have Villarreal going for the lead. And he takes it. Rear quarter panel hit on Jackson Rasenje, and he went hard into the concrete wall in the penultimate corner, I think. Beautiful action here.
Action all the way through, and now watch this, Nico Godoy under pressure from Josh Perwine as we go around, holding on to things. Diego Villarreal into the lead, but watch out for Gaston Kohlhavi behind, not far off. And again, that time limit as opposed to a lap limit showing itself, showing some fun because drivers are not wasting time trying to go through. That's the number 11 of Josh on the inside. Josh Perwine trying to go through, not able to hold on against Nico Godoy, but is putting a lot of pressure there. And Nico Godoy, cool, calm, and collected under pressure.
Oh,
and
no!
Josh Perwine goes around there, and that was collected by Fabrizio Belziti. But again, front-wheel drive showing itself, Marco, getting back under control.
That was a scary moment for the hometown hero. He was able to get the car pointing straight. You've seen that Jackson Rasenje didn't have the same luck because the entire rear part of the car was missing there. His teammate here, Pedro Mora, and Corentin Guinness are having a little bit of an argument as we see Belziti in the inside, the Voracious Racing Team car. That's the all-carbon car of Godoy remaining wide, and this allows Kulavi to make a move and maybe maybe Miranda as well. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. I think Miranda has made it. Yes, he has.
We saw that replay there in the bottom right of Jackson Rasenje spin early on. You can see he's back out and going, but he's missing the whole back part of his Clio Cup from what I can see. So that is probably not going to be good for him in terms of pace or aerodynamics. Which, of course, these Clio Cups, you know, aerodynamics may not be as important, but it does exist. And I would say missing the whole back trunk lid of your car is not a good decision. Fabrizio Belziti, though, not missing any part of his car and trying to hold off a fast Gaston Kohlhabi right behind, doing very well to do so at the moment. But Gaston Kohlhabi, we know has pace, we know is a strong driver. Victor Miranda behind is just as strong as well, and as we're seeing, when one pass is done, it can lead 2, 3, 4, 5 passes on their way, as Nico Godoy has learned down into P5 after starting up in pole position, but now down into P6 as we go down the main straight here, and that is the SART teammates going around trying to get the Voracious Racing driver of Fabrizio Belziti. Fabrizio Belziti goes forward because it looks like everybody's trying to hold on here through the double left-hander. Down the inside is going to go Victor Miranda on Diego Villarreal here, and that is going to put Diego Villarreal down into 4th place here, and Fabrizio Belziti, Gaston Kohlhabi, and Victor Miranda will shuffle their way forward into the top 3. Meanwhile, Nico Godoy is already down into P8. And Marco, it's been a lot of action early on. Do you think the drivers are going to settle down anytime soon?
Oh man, I don't think so, because I think Corentin Guinness is coming back and he has got a big target for these guys here in front of him. And I mean, I'm loving the action. Already 5 minutes in the books, which means we are having tons of fun with continuous lead changes. Belziti, Kohlhabi, and Victor Miranda, your top 3. Villarreal in 4th, and then you can see him ominous, you know, looking in the mirrors for these drivers, because they know that Corentin Guinness is coming, as we have unfortunately sorry. For a second it seemed like Villarreal was going to the pits. Instead he just went a little bit too much to the right. He triggered the pit entry graphics on our timing screen, but no, he's staying on the track. Unfortunately for him though, Corentin Guinness has taken the opportunity to run past him on the front stretch. So Guinness in 4th and Villarreal down to 5th.
Corentin Guinness is going to have the pedal to the metal and continue going, but Gaston Kohlhabi putting some pressure on Fabrizio Belziti early on here, but you can see Victor Miranda just staying in the mix as well here, and now there we go, Gaston Kohlhabi with a bit of a run on the inside, hard braking into the Yokohama Bridge, and there we go, Gaston Kohlhabi late on the brakes, very smooth there in that Clio Cup. You can see it sliding now. Fabrizio Belziti seems to be a bit faster here through Foster's dip down the dogleg, but that late braking from Kohlhabi on the Yokohama Bridge, getting him up into the lead, but for how long? Because by the time I can finish my thoughts, Corentin Guinness right the mix here in P4, right behind, and now down the main straight where it's all about pedal to the metal and how fast can you go. Driver's going to just hold on to it and go, and we'll see, can Gaston Kohlhabi pull a gap out of the final corner? Going into turn 1, a little bit of a gap there, and everybody slipstreaming down the main straight for just a moment. Everybody just kind of relaxing through. I do want to point out Gerardo Ramos, who is in P7, now P6, Marco, as Gerardo Ramos, we know has pace as well, is always comfortable here in AMX 0, and may find his way forward as Corentin Guinness goes up the inside there, Fabrizio Belziti, and gets that E3.
I mean, that was a nice move there from Corentin. He went bravely on the inside, and Belziti left just a bit of the door open enough, and with drivers like Corentin Guinness, you really don't need to leave him any kind of opening. He's going to take advantage of it, and so it's up to 3rd place, but Victor Miranda and Gaston Kohlhabi still in front of him. This is going to be a tasty battle between Miranda and Kohlhabi and Guinness, I think, for the race lead. In the meantime, Nico Godoy keeps falling down. Now he's in 10th place, now back to 9th, as Fabio Zamperlini, I think, has got an issue because he's now down into 13th place, and Jackson Resenji, of course, trying to get back, but of course his car not looking good. He's just running around. Maybe we'll pit later to get the car repaired and maybe go for the fastest lap in the final few moments of this race.
Absolutely. Something big happened there in the midfield there because we see several drivers are out now into the pit lane mixed up, but Victor Miranda putting under pressure from Quarantine Guinness, and Guinness for the win is what we see the chat saying. Guinness, a fan favorite here in AMX. We can see that he is proving why with that extreme pace. Look at this, already 3/10 off of Victor Miranda as we go over the Yokohama Bridge yet again. And now we're just going to continue to push things through over and over and see how the drivers handle the pressure. Can Gaston Kohlhavi continue to just keep consistent pace here in the front and defend from behind? Can Victor Miranda make a charge forward, or will he be overcome by Quarantine Guinness? And with the way things look as we go through the dog leg here, Quarantine Guinness is not playing around. Look at this. Is he going to try to dive up the inside? Not here. He hugs the apex, though. He's right behind Victor Miranda. And now we see the defense from Gaston Kohlhavi. A little bit of swerving down the main straight. Of course, you can do that. Just over and back is typically what's allowed. We don't want to see anyone, trying to act like there's cones that you're swerving through. And look at this, Victor Miranda taking a defensive line into turn one, trying to hold Quarantine Guinness behind. How wide can Victor Miranda make a Renault Clio Cup? How wide does he wish that car was right now?
And that's an interesting question, and think that we'll have the answer quite soon, as we are about to get the halfway mark of this race done and dusted, 30 seconds away, and the front three have really made their way away, created some separation between the three of them, and Fabrizio Belziti in fourth. But that doesn't mean that they are safe, because a little bit of contact or a bit harsher battling than what they are doing right now, they can slow themselves down so much and open the door to Fabrizio and potentially also Gerardo Ramos to come back and fight with nice double shot here. Of course, we have the cars, the TV cameras, the big screen, the picture-in-picture of the onboard of Corentin Guinet. And this is going to be a fantastic fight. Let's see if he goes for it right now in turn one.
We're halfway through on our time limit here in Heat 1, and of course another heat to go, and I don't want to jinx anything, but the last time that I commentated Oran Park, it was Formula V's, and it was a last lap crash in the dog leg between the top three that cost the top three the win. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else remembers that race, but I very clearly remember that race, and I'm not trying to jinx anything. I'm just saying it feels like we're building up to that point here as we go. Gaston Kohlhavi doing very well to hold the lead here. Victor Miranda 3.5 tenths back. Quarantine Guinness about a quarter of a second behind Victor Miranda. And these drivers, look at the gap they pulled on Fabrizio Belziti. 3.1 seconds the gap. That is a wide spread that they have. If my calculations are correct, Marco, they might possibly catch up with Nico Godoy and Fabio Zamperlini. A little bit of lap traffic there as things go on and as we hit the last minutes here in this race. So lap traffic could start to play a role in this as well, which is not something I'm used to saying about AMX, to be honest with you.
And we also need to keep in mind 1 minute 14 seconds and a half, more or less, the rhythm of these drivers. The pace that they're having right now. Of course, in timed races or races that go through like a timed finish, iRacing doesn't display to us the white flags. We'll have to calculate it by hand or looking. I don't know. Somebody wrote something in Portuguese in the chat. And I think I got what it meant. I will have to do some research before I translate it.
I don't know that I want to know, but now you have me curious because I do not speak Portuguese. However, I do know a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of Polish. So I will let you take with that what you will, and I will tell you someone who is probably going to be wishing they spoke Portuguese right now, and that is going to be Quarantine Guinness, because he would be saying a lot of words in Portuguese as he's trying to get past Victor Miranda here. Look at this right behind. It is just a tenth of a second through, and now as we watch, it is down the inside here. This is the move he's been setting up for like 5 laps, Marco, and he overshoots it. He overbrakes it. into turn 2 there, and now Victor Miranda back up into P2. Cortiguenes had his shot, and in the words of Hamilton the Musical, he is not throwing away his shot, but he just did. And Marco, how long is it going to take him to set up to do that again?
It's going to be interesting because when you make that mistake, of course you tend to lose a lot of time, and this looked what it meant for Gaston Kulhavi to create this 8 tenths of a second. By the way, the chat was saying, of course, that Fernandez down in 8th place is moving upwards, and he is now sitting in 8th place. He's back where he started after, I think, a difficult start. You see the replay of the crash between Godoy and Zamperlini, the crash that took them both out of contention, and you can see they are basically about to be lapped. Ouch, the rear bumper didn't like that. Ow, and the door.
And there went the rear trunk. Just insult to injury at that point, Marco, but it's okay, as we see Zamperlini and Godoy have repaired their cars, and that is good to see them back out in the mix, because they are, of course, running P13 and P14. While Nico Godoy did start in the lead, it's nice to see him still trying to run here. Of course, Livier and Mori, who are not out running at the moment, which is unfortunate to see for them, but they will get a chance at redemption into Heat 2. Gaston Kohavi is solidifying his place here in Heat 1, though. He is continuously holding on to that lead as we're going into about 5 minutes left now. Victor Miranda and Cortiguenes holding on to P2 and P3 respectively. Cortiguenes has dropped back a bit, but I think he's just trying to set up another move. He just tried to spook Victor Miranda earlier, just kind of say, hey, I'm here, I've got pace, let me through. Oh, nope, I lied, sorry. Turn 2 a little bit brave, but they are going through. Now Josh Perwine and Fernandez are battling there in P7 as we watch these leaders battle into the final corner. In down the main straight we go. Again, Kohavi trying to break that slipstream, and we continue to see him do that over and over again. And Victor Miranda with a bit better of a run down, but I don't think he's close enough for a lunge into turn 1, and Cortiguenes definitely isn't close enough for anything into turn 1.
Oh, more or less. Normally the race should have ended right now. But we get some extra AMX action, which I'm all for it. Gaston Kulhavi, I don't know if he's going to be very happy about it, but let's pretend he doesn't know. He's just too focused on the driving and not on the mats. As we can see, Ramos and that was, I think, Belziti battling it out, and the number 12 car was going through the grass there, so something must have happened. The top 3 are separated by 7 tenths of a second. This is an enthralling battle for the win. 4 minutes to go in this race, and they are basically 3 of the 4 biggest movers so far. +8, +10, +12. The only other big mover is Ramos with +9, so deservedly sitting at the top. These 3 guys. In which order will they arrive? We'll know in around 3 minutes and a half.
Probably about 3 laps left in the race, if I had to guesstimate. However, I'm not going to say that race lap math is my strong suit, so somebody else can fact check me there in the chat, and I will let them decide it for me. Cortiguenes, again, getting very, very close here. Victor Miranda putting pressure. Look at that battle for P7 down there side by side as they go through. And in that battle for P7, Fernandez trying to fight there with Kyle. Who is it that he's fighting with? Because they're side by side through. They're giving some good battles there as we continue to watch that battle for the lead. Nope, that is Josh Perwine. Sorry, that is the battle for 7th. I can read numbers, I promise. And now we continue to watch. I'm kind of jumping back and forth between the main screen here. Cortiguenes is asking Victor Miranda the question, how wide can you make your Renault Clio car? How hard can you defend? Down in P7, they're just saying, hey, who's going to finish ahead of who here? They are not asking the questions. They are throwing the punches back and forth through the dog leg, and through the final corner here go our leaders. And again, Gaston Kohavi is just probably saying, when is this going to end? I am so ready for another heat to start. Because remember, folks, we've got 20 more minutes of action after this, and oh boy, things are getting very fun.
Fernandez almost lost it in the final corner, and now lost a big chunk of time. 1.8 seconds back to Kerwin. I think maybe catching his breath right now and just being happy with 8th place. But the top 3, where we put our attention to, this should be the penultimate lap of the race. Maybe we will know more when they cross the start finish line. Remember, 1 minute 14 is what they're still lapping right now. 1 minute 14 and a half, I should say, while they're still lapping. So very consistent times, not really dropping off in pace. And you can see Guinness is trying everything he can. Can't get past the number 4 car of Miranda as they go round the final corner. They enter it right now, and I think the white flag. We should see Barney wave the white flag with passion as we look at the cars go to the start finish line.
And there we go through, and look at this. Corentin Guinez putting pressure on Victor Miranda, trying to use the little bit of slipstream these Clio Cups have. Victor Miranda goes very defensive there, and Corentin Guinez has to slide it through, but watch this. He's going to switch it around. Victor Miranda places that car. Oh, he overshoots the braking zone. Kohalvi spits too. Kohalvi locked up the brakes. Victor Miranda overshot the braking zone. Corentin Guinez may get this on the final lap. Look at this up the inside. Corentin Guinez trying to block off Kohalvi here. Kohalvi possibly pulling the biggest moment ever here at AMX. Victor Miranda upsettingly dropping to P3. And look at this battle for the lead. Corentin Guinez, Gaston Kohalvi. It is not over until the checkered flag drops from Barney the Flagman and iRacing. And as they come around here through the dog leg, Marco, what did we just see?
I am speechless, but Corentin Guinez got lucky, but he did it because he never gave up, and then he was gifted the lead in the first corner of the final lap. Final corner of the final lap now is ready to get the checkered flag.
The happy light blinks as Corentin Guinez comes across the line, gifted it in the final lap. And I'm not going to say I called it, but I am going to say I called it. Gaston Kohalvi, P2, Victor Miranda, 3rd. Gerardo Ramos does overcome Fabrizio Belziti for P4 and 5, respectively. Diego Villarreal, Josh Perline, Hernandez, Gaspar comes through. Of course, Sigmund will be our last driver across the line there in 12th place. And Marco, we just did 20 minutes of racing, and we've got 20 more minutes to go. Gaston Kohalvi, Corentin Guinez, and Victor Miranda giving us one heck of a show, top to bottom.
That was a race for the ages with a worthy ending. Of course, Kohalvi and Miranda won't be happy, especially Kohalvi. Guinez will be very, very happy with it. Then Ramos, Belziti, Villarreal, Perwin, Fernandez, who finishes in 8th, Gaspar and Hasenji, then Mora, Zygmunt, Zapperini, Godoy, Livre. De Mori didn't take the green flag. And so, as we see our thank you session winner, Corentin Guinez, celebrating and hydrating himself, which is very important. We flip the order, and it's going to be Livre in pole position with Nico Godoy sitting behind him for the start of the race, which will be very, very soon, because there is only 1 minute of gridding time available for these drivers when we move from race 1 to race 2.
And the drivers gridding up here for race 2. And as you mentioned, we just invert the heat here. So Corentin Guinez will be starting back in P15. And now we're already back underway. Green flag wave from Barney the Flagman there. And this is where the action is going to start. Look at this. Again, everybody just settling up single file. Watch Corentin Guinez here. He takes a hand off the wheel. He is real relaxed going into this. And I don't know how long he's going to stay relaxed. Look at him braking early, backing out. People spinning in front. There goes 5, 6 cars coming back through. Somebody's around. Another car back out of the racing line. Corentin Guinez, look at that. Oh, he almost gets collected, but look at that. Oh, Corentin Guinez, he snaps the wheel around, holds on, and he is up to P7 by the time we hit turn 3. Look at that, the triple Q on the inside of Fernandez, giving plenty of room. Somebody's out into the outside wall. That's Sigmund, who is around into the outside wall. So by the time we hit turn 3, we have had Sigmund, Villarreal, Kohalvi, Ramos, Belziti, and Mori all into walls early on. But Corentin Guinez up into P6. He's going to be very happy with that race start. And I am going to need a good replay of that race start to break that down again, Marco. That was some action in P2.
And that's how you go from 15th to 6th in basically 2 corners. Fantastic decision by the fantastic camera crew of AMX to show the start from the onboard of the reverse, well, the guy that got reversed down from P1 to P15, because we've seen, and even then you can see when he was pushed on the grass, he kept the gas pedal down. In all of this is our newcomer, Dorian Lelievre, who's leading the way in front of Fabulous Fabio Zamperlini and Jackson Resengi. So this is going to be a nice early battle for the lead, with the Frenchman being pressured by the 2 Brazilians, and then it's Nico Godoy and Pedro Mora. Corentin Guinez, of course, looking good for another fantastic finish, because, I mean, he's already up to 6th, and, I mean, that was much faster than the, you know, the path they have to take to arrive to 6th in race 1, so he has got now 18 minutes, try to gain as many positions as possible. Now, in race 1, yes, he won, yes, he scored a fantastic pole, but he had to work out for it until the very last lap. So it's not a slam dunk as one might think, but now already up in 5th position.
Watching that Binky replay there in the bottom right of that first lap crash, and you can see just carnage through. Here's the issue with a left-hander, or a double left-hander, being how the course starts, especially with the setup at Orem Park. If you look at a track map, if someone gets spun there into the sweeper, into the double apex of the Coca-Cola corner, and they go on the inside there, they just get shot back out into the racing line, and that's what we saw happen there. I believe it was Diego Villarreal who came back into the racing line, and it just absolutely ruins the field, because it's a bowling ball effect. Really, you just throw a bowling ball into a bunch of pins, the pins, of course, being your fellow racers, and you just see how many you can strike out, and in that case, it was several. And oh, there's a chain reaction I didn't expect. The triple two and the 20 having a moment there, the force coming around, the 20's car is just completely broken, and look at that, he's going to hit his teammate, and who benefits from this? Kyle Gaspar up the inside. Quentin Guinez is long gone from this. 20, look at that, he's driving like he doesn't have that left rear wheel almost. Look at that, the car just crabbing around it. Oh, it's going to go straight into the midfield. Oh, thankfully that's an infield, and he can just stop it there. Pedro Mora is out of contention here in this race, I believe, as his car is broken. I would imagine he is hearing the iRacing, "You got too much damage, you need to pit for repairs," call right now from his spotter.
Ironically, the iRacing spotter is Australian, so the default one at least. So we will feel right at home as Corentin Guinez gets the fastest lap of the race, which, by the way, he also did in race 1 as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he's looking for the clean sweep of the AMX 0 race. Pole position, got it. Race 1 win and fastest lap, got both of them. Now he's looking good to do a rare feat in AMX action, I have to say. The clean sweep of the entire AMX 0 or 10 event. So something to look out for. We could be in for a bit of history tonight.
I think this would be the second time that Corentin Guinez has gotten the Triple Crown this season, because we had someone get the Triple Crown earlier this season, and I want to say it was Corentin Guinez, but somebody in the chat's going to correct me, because I'm sure my brain is wrong. Corentin Guinez, Jackson Resengi going behind him now. Here we go, up to P3 for Corentin Guinez, but Jackson Resengi we know is a racy driver and may be able to give a bit of pressure here to Corentin Guinez, just like he felt all the way through Heat 1. But watch this as we see Levier and Zamperlini battling it out. Fabulous Fabio trying to hold on to that lead, and I really think it's just a matter of if. I don't think it's a matter of, you know, when is Zamperlini going to lose the lead. Well, no, I said that backwards. I don't think it's a matter of if Zamperlini is going to lose the lead. I think it's when, as we watch Zamperlini under pressure here. We see the switchback attempt, but look at this. Corentin Guinez, even in the first 2 corners, is all the way up into that top 3 battle, and Jackson Resengi in the mix. It's a 4-car battle for the lead here. And Marco, watch this as we see Guinez get aggressive on the inside. Jackson Resengi follow him right through. Watch this, Marco, as we see Guinez pressure for the lead.
And chat very vocally telling us that it was Chris Lolam to get the Triple Crown in AMX 10 this season. I trust them. I think they are right. The crowd, you know, the crowd is always right. But there has never been, we are saying in chat, they are saying to us, a Triple Crown winner in AMX 0. oddly enough, because sometimes in AMX 0 you get like a little bit more varied iRatings, so to speak. But this is a proof that you have to race the races and nothing is set in stone. So interesting bit of history. Thank you to our wonderful chat that we of course always like to read. Of course we can do that on the bottom of the screen, and of course if you have questions and other interesting things to ask to us, just go ahead. We will respond the best of our knowledge. Corentin Guinness is already hounding fabulous Fabio Zamperlini for the race lead. This is going to be a nice battle between the pair of them. Let's see if Jackson Hasenji can come back at him and maybe make it another time a three-way fight for the race win. We shall see. We are only 7 minutes into this race 2.
We're only 7 minutes in, and I feel like we've had enough action for like 5 AMX zeros all the way through, Marco. This has been intense through. And now Corentin Guinness putting the pressure on the Duckhawk Racing driver of Fabio Zamperlini. We call him Fabulous Fabio around here, but we're going to watch him just absolutely see. And again, it comes down to the same thing I said in Heat 1. How wide is a Renault Clio Cup? How wide? Fabio Zamperlini wish it was, as we go down the main straight here, and we're going to watch some of the defensive masterclass come into play here that they teach over at Duckhawk Racing. And here we go down into turn 1. Who comes out ahead? Watch that. Corentin Guinness with a little bit more aggressive run on the inside, but Fabio Zamperlini positioning that car well, but side by side they go through Coca-Cola corner, and it looks like at the moment Guinness might have the drag race off the line, but Zamperlini will have the inside for the next right-hander. Corentin Guinness will slot back in here into P2. He's going to try to pick the mark again. Zamperlini proving a very, very strong competitor, a very defensive driver all the way through.
Oh, it's a bit wide here as they go on the bridge, and now the inside will be for the Frenchman. He has it, and I think he also has P1. And here we go, Jackson Hasenji is coming for a piece of the pie as well. We are back for more three-way action for the race lead, just like that in race 1, but now Corentin Guinness has got the time and the clean air to try and pull away and show that he's on the next level.
See, here will be the... Oh, Jackson Versinge gets loose on the inside curb there. Ooh, that was not good. We have a replay in the bottom right of Nico Godoy's crash that he had earlier on. It's unfortunate to see Nico Godoy not having a lot of fun in the Clio Cups, but he's still running P9, which is not a bad position to be in there. Very, very good points still coming his way. Fabio Zamperlini, again, we continue to watch his defense here. Jackson Versinge putting pressure on. So you've got Frenchman, Brazilian. None of them are teammates. And of course, remember, Guinness is halfway across the world from Zamperlini and Versinge. But what does that mean for them? It just means very, very fun competitive racing. And we'll keep an eye on the bottom right as well at that battle for P7. Fabrizio Belziti getting under pressure by Josh Perwine all the way through. And this is going to be a fun battle to watch. Marco, I want your predictions. Who wins between Guinness, Zamperlini, Versinge, or is it none of them? And are we going to see some magical fourth contender fight their way forward?
I'm not a betting man, but if I were to bet, I would bet not on Guinness, because he has the lowest odds in my opinion. I think that Jackson Hasenji has some left in him, but he needs to, well, that error he made earlier, it's a big problem, because now he has to rebuild this gap between him and Zamperlini, and that alone I think should give Guinness the chance to pull away. So, you know, the favorite would be Guinness right now, but my money would be on Hasenji. Should he be able to get the move done on Zamperlini quickly?
We're halfway through Heat 2 here, so he's got some time left in the back. Oh, look at this. Nico Godoy under pressure from Sigmund here, and that was a slidey Renault Clio Cup. And look at that, Gaston Kohlhavi in the mix as well, down in the battle for P9, which is a surprising little battle to watch here. Of course, they are really going to be pushing each other through, and Gaston Kohlhavi with a lot of pace here in these Clios, and you see he's just having to kind of settle in. He's trying to avoid rear-ending Lucas Sigmund here as they go up towards the Yokohama Bridge, doing a very good job of car control all the way through. But this section of the course is where I think we're really seeing the difference in pace come out from the drivers going down through Foster's Dip into the dogleg. This is really where I think we're seeing drivers kind of pick up and lose the pace. Seems like the first half of the track is just nice and relaxed for them because it is a lot of sharp corners. But this, where it's flowing, you really see what drivers can conserve the momentum in the cars, Marco. And I think this is really where we're seeing the difference in pace come out, especially out of this final corner here.
The clock tells us that it's almost 12 minutes in. Of course, 20 minutes. We've hit the time limit in race 1. We are surely going to do that in race 2 as well. And our production crew has cleverly put the timing left on the top left of the screen as we see this fantastic battle. Nico Godoy, no!
Oh, Nico Godoy just absolutely misses the braking point there into the left-hander, Marco. And that seems something that's very easy to do from what I can tell. We've seen several drivers do that, Marco, and I think you hit on it earlier, but there's no reference points on this track, really, right?
No, it's difficult, and it's difficult at that first corner, as you were saying, like it's a double apex or sorts with like, you need to brake twice, I think, to get it properly. And I say that with a question mark because it's I'm not very good at this, so I take it very, very slowly when I try to race here. But it's such a difficult. This track is so difficult, and you might see, it's short, doesn't have many corners, but the challenges it presents to you, especially with a front-wheel drive car, are plenty. And so, I'm not surprised that we've seen a couple of drivers miss turn 1 now. Of course, I was shocked in race 1 because it was the last lap. And Flavia had been perfect until that moment, but once again, you need to arrive to the checkers flag, and then you can celebrate. Really, I'm sure that he knows that better than everybody else. Corentin has now 2 seconds over Zamperlini. Zamperlini 1 second over Hasenji, and now, let me tell you, Lelivre was unlucky in race 1, has built himself a nice race 2, as we see Mura getting lapped. The newcomer from France is sitting in a very respectable 4th place.
Yeah, I can't pronounce names. Dorian here is very, very comfortable. I'll let Marco correct me on the last name here in just a moment, but looking very comfortable. Of course, the Frenchman here, newcomer, very relaxed through and respectable run here in Heat 2 to hold on to some pace. 1.6 seconds ahead of Gaspar, 3 seconds behind Rasenjay. Of course, Rasenjay is trying to stick with Zamperlini, but the field here in Heat 2 is a lot more spread out than Heat 1, Marco.
Yeah, my French is awful, so I'm not going to even attempt to pretend to be right about it. Anyways, he was starting on the front row of the reverse grid, so usually that means a bad race 1, of course. But despite that, he has lost a few positions in the beginning, then he settled down nicely, and this 4th place could be a very, very nice achievement for him. So congratulations to him. Of course, don't jinx him, Marco. He's telling to himself. He has to resist to the commentator's curse for 5 more minutes.
Marco, it's not a commentator's curse. It's just us stating things and then those things just conveniently happening after. For example, me saying that the field is very spread out and I'm about to introduce a lot of battles. Is Corentin Gunez is in the pit? No, he was just far enough to the right that he hit the pit lane trigger. Look at that. Look at that. I tricked you, viewers. You thought you were going to see something really, really shocking happen, but you didn't. See, commentator's curse isn't real. It's just I like to say things and then they happen. That's how that works, right, Marco? Help me out here, Marco.
We are very good commentators, of course.
Exactly. We can see into the future. That's just an ability that we have here at AMX. Oh boy. Anyways, just under 5 minutes to go. Corentin Gunez, look at him. He's just comfortable. He is comfortably running this race here in the front and just settling through. It looks like all the drivers are really just doing the Saturday afternoon cruise. I don't know if anyone else likes to do a nice, aggressive Saturday afternoon cruise through a countryside, but that is what our drivers are doing here as they finish up this Heat 2. And then, of course, we will have AMX 10 following shortly after this and going through with some fun cars. But I have to say, I really like this track, Marco. I really like this track, and we've touched on this track doesn't exist anymore. I think it was turned into a housing development. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, you're right.
Preserve your local tracks. They're so much better. This track gives so much good racing, but again, that is just a personal opinion that I will state. Because, you know, the good thing is we have it in iRacing. It's the same thing with like North Wilkesboro Speedway in iRacing. You know, seeing that preserved, and then, you know, seeing tracks preserved in other sims such as the Nürburgring coming to Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is going to be a very, very good race. And look at this. We brought action up on things here. Kyle Gaspar, 0.3 of a second back on Dorian Olivier here and trying to put some pressure. Kyle Gaspar might have a chance at P4 here by the end of the race, Marco, with just about 3 minutes to go.
Oh yes, we've got the onboard on the Brazilian driver looking forwards. We can see the rear end of the red and black Clio of the only Frenchman in the field, and of course driving the French car. When speaking of local heroes, there's Josh Purwin then in 8th place. He's gained 1 spot. Sure, not the AMX 0 race that Josh was expecting to have tonight, with not a lot of positive luck for him, as we see the battle for 8th place there, with Blavi going past Josh Purwin on the inside of the final corner. And so, speak of the devil, Purwin goes down into P9. A big lock up there at the front, but positions don't change. Leliv is still in 4th, and Caio Gaspar sitting in 5th, and we should be on the penultimate lap of the race.
Kyle Gaspar putting some pressure here, but does he have enough time to get past? The battle for 8th there in the bottom right of your screen, Gaston Colby, Josh Perline trying to battle each other through, and that will heat up as things go as well. Look at this, Corte Gudas, 3.7 seconds. He is just absolutely taken off. The third sector here, or really this track has 4 sectors, but this back half of the track is what I'm going to call it, being where we see the real action hit, because that is where things go. Quentin Yunez will be coming up here on the start-finish straight. As I said, Kyle Gaspar was trying to put some pressure, and I think this should start our final lap, as you said, Marco. So for Quentin Yunez, it is just a few kilometers of relaxed driving. But look at this in the background. Anything but relaxed driving for Olivier as he goes through. And look at this, Jackson Rescind. Actually, no, this is a lap car they're trying to get through. Pedro Mora. Pedro Mora going very wide, trying to get things through, but that gets side by side. The number 13 and the number 9. And look at that. Tire smoke there from a lockup on the inside wheel as it unloads. And Kyle Gaspar, Dorian Olivier holding on to each other here. Switch back. Kyle Gaspar goes a bit deep on the brakes. And Olivier will push his way through. And Pedro Mora there is that third car in the mix. Of course, lap down and trying to just enjoy the action from the driver's seat view. But I think that might settle that battle for the final time, Marco.
It does, and I think that Guinness will basically hit the checkered flag as the clock will hit the 20 minutes, so he's just a few corners away. There it is, the checkered flag. The clock will never reach 20 because we are in a space-time paradox, but I assure you, it's the checkered flag.
Happy light flashes from Quarantine Yunez as he comes across the line. Fabio Zamperlini P2, Jackson Resenje, a respectable P3. Kyle Gaspar, one last-ditch effort if he can get past. He is not close enough to get past, though. And Kyle Gaspar will finish a very nice, respectable P5. Fabrizio Belziti will bring it across P6. Gaston Kohalvi, the heartbreak of the heats in P8. And we continue to just see drivers come through and finish things out. Of course, Gerardo Ramos not finishing Heat 2, unfortunately, but I'm going to say it was a very, very good race all the way through. Heat 2 was a little more relaxed than Heat 1 in the back half, but we saw good action all the way through the field the entire time, Marco. You can see the happy wiggles there from Sydney finishing this race. Maybe he's got a wheel out of alignment. I'm not sure which.
And of course, congratulations to Corentin Guinness that takes home the first ever AMX 10 Triple Crown. So congratulations to him and to the rest of the podium and all the drivers that finished well. As you can see, Zamperlini and Jackson Okasenji. Le Libre, as we were saying, excellent fourth on what I think is his AMX debut. You can see the prize winnings there on the right side as well. Gaspar, Miranda, Belziti, Kulavi, Josh Purwin, Lucas Sigman, Nico Godoy, Diego Villarreal, Danilo Fernandez, Pedro Moura, Gerardo Ramos, and once again, sadly, Simon De Mori didn't take the green flag. And that's all she wrote for AMX 0. But, of course, don't despair, you kind folks watching from home, because just a few minutes we will move ourselves, the production crew, most of the drivers and some new drivers, Brad. We will be going to Aragon, and actually we will move quicker than expected because of course these races went a bit longer. So Brad, final considerations and then off to the plane to get to Spain.
Cortegunes, very, very good run. Very, very competitive racing here at a beautiful car track combo. And that is going to be where I think we call AMX 0 for the day. Of course, check out all the socials. AMX 10 signups are still open, of course, for our next race, which is going to be Porsche's in Spain. Me and Marco have a flight to catch. The production crew needs to pack up and move real, real fast. So everybody, stick around here, enjoy our quick little break, and we will be back very, very quickly in the other side of the world.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
And we are back live from beautiful and sunny Spain. It's AMX 10 for race number 23. We are live from Aragon with the 911 GT3 Cup cars. It's going to be a fantastic race on the newest tracks of the iRacing service. I am Marco Barbanera, and my main commentator for tonight, once again, is Brad.
Marco, how'd you get to Spain so fast?
The power of the NVIDIA technology that makes me change the background very, very quickly, thanks to the RTX, features of the new graphics cards. Thank you, NVIDIA.
Marco is indeed a time traveler, but yeah, we've got Porsche GT3 Cups going on a track in Spain that is fairly new to iRacing, very new to iRacing. That should be fun because it's a track that was just built within the last, 15 years ago? Almost now? Opened in 09, I believe it was. But I'll let Marco fill you in on a bit of that later because we've got the usual AMX house we can get through here. Looking at everything here AMX and to get you up to speed as to what to expect. And if this is your first time with AMX, there's a lot you need to know. So let's dive right into it. Of course, this is season 3 here. Starting on September 20th, we run all the way until December 10th. It is a prize pool of $25,000 being given out over the course of that 3-month time span. Most races in a year, most variety of car and track combos in a year. And of course, if someone else is doing this, you saw them get the idea from us. It is 15-minute qualifiers, reverse the top 15 of the grid, then do a 15-minute heat, reverse that again, and of course, 15 minutes in Heat 2, and the prize amounts are the same from qualifying Heat 1 and Heat 2 all the way down. Now, of course, with the driver cams on Zoom, AMX 10, it is required if you want to get paid out, and of course, balances over $100 are paid out every single month, and we race 3 days a week. And if you want to get involved, amxrace.com is the place to go. Jump on the Discord, get on the website, purchase your tickets for AMX 10, and then jump on board with us and get in on some of this crazy car track combo action that we have for you. Now, of course, if you're saying, okay, I like that you're giving out prizes, but when do I need to join? If you're Eastern Standard Time in the US, it is going to be 11:50 a.m. and 1:20 p.m. are our Saturday and Sunday race slots. AMX 10 runs at 1:20 p.m. and of course 8:20 p.m. on Wednesday. So a nice little after-work relaxation on the Wednesday night. Nice little way to wind up your Saturday afternoon if you're taking a break from football, college football, professional football, whatever it may be. Typically, that's the sport running right now at this time of the world. Now, of course, Central European time, friends. It is 7:20 p.m., so it's a good post-dinner action that you can get. Eat some nice dinner, and then jump on board here with AMX 10 and win some money. That sounds like a good Saturday night to me, and I don't know how else I'd want to imagine it. Of course, if you're in a different part of the world, just convert those times accordingly, and you can find out what time we race. Of course, daylight savings time the past couple weeks has gotten weird, but this is solidified for the rest of the season as far as I am aware. Now, I hear you saying, okay, I like when you race, I like that there's prizes, but how much in prizes are we talking? Of course, AMX 10, $10 entry fee. First place is going to get $40 in qualifying, so you just quadruple your entry fee. Now reverse the top 15. If you can pull a Corentin Gunez and run that back into first place for Heat 1, it's another $40, and then reverse that grid again. Go all the way back up one more time, it's another $40. $601 in prizes given out. Of course, $5 for the fastest lap in Heat 1 and Heat 2. You're already going to be first place in qualifying for $40. We don't give away extra money for being top in qualifying. I'm sorry. And of course, remember the Zoom is required. You are required to have your cameras on to join. And AMXrace.com is where you can get all of that information for how to turn on the camera, get on the Discord, and all of the links are included through there. But I love Next Level Racing because we're not just giving away $601 every time we race. If you come in and you race here in AMX 10, you have the chance to win the FGT Elite if you are the champion in AMX 10. Next Level Racing throwing a big prize out there and getting people involved here. Jump in and race, because if you win this FGT Elite, I can guarantee you it is a huge upgrade to what you may currently have, unless you already have an FGT Elite, in which case you can just ship it directly to my house. I'd be more than happy to have this. Also, Next Level Racing, if you're listening, I would like it. But I'll purchase one. It's okay. Now, here we go. Let's keep moving forward because the top 12 currently, who is in contention for that GT Elite? Quentin Gunez, Triple Crown winner of AMX 0, currently sitting at over $1,000 in winnings here in AMX 10. And now, just look down at some of these big names. Gal Valero, Diogo Pinto, Fabrizio Belziti, Jackson Rasinje in the mix, Kieran Harrison, Chris Lullam, William Chadwick, and Gerardo Ramos. You can see all of our top 12s through Fabio Zamperlini and Victor Miranda. Of course, names that I want to make sure to mention as well. But our top 12, very competitive through, and it's a very, very close battle. Remember, just missing one race and someone else racing can knock you out or into this top 12 accordingly, because it's $120, $130 possibly if you're all the way up. But some of you are going to say, okay, so what do people average every time they run an AMX 10? What are we averaging? Well, Enzo Benito has ran one race, averaged $95 in winnings. Jose Soria, $85 in winnings. Chris Lullam, $78. You can see all the way through there, the averages for our top 12 are all above $50, including the greats like Ollie Steinbraten, William Chadwick, Max Verstappen is in there, of course. Quentin Gunez is on the mix as well. So all of our top 12 are averaging above $50 every single time they race. And if that doesn't tell you, 2 races, you can earn $100. And of course, payouts are over $100. So that's a big deal there. Now, of course, AMX 10, $10 to enter. But if you are quick on the draw on AMXrace.com, our first 10 entries are free. And signups open on a rolling basis. AMXrace.com is the place to go to make sure that you are getting involved in the Premier Sim Racing League. Because think about this, $10 to enter, but you enter for free, and you say you win all 3 heats all the way through, you paid nothing, and we just paid you to join the league and have fun. That's big. That is a big thing. So AMXrace.com, and make sure you are snagging those tickets for AMX 10 as fast as possible. And now, with all of the housekeeping out of the way, I am going to turn things over to the soothing voice of Marco to go ahead and let Marco give an introduction to the beautiful track that is on our screen right now.
Thank you so much, Brad. Yes, Aragon, MOTORLAND Aragon, of course, the full name. We are in Spain. A racetrack that has been opened in 2009, designed by Herman Tilke, and has been the showpiece of many categories, including, mostly a bike track, of course, which is what we are getting now in iRacing, with Mugello, Misano, and others coming soon. World Superbike always raced here. MotoGP always raced here, apart from this year, but they will be back next year. And of course, WTCR, World Series by Renault, or Formula Renault 3.5, of course, it was called later, had a race here many years in a row. And of course, the lap time on the Grand Prix, the record, is been held by Formula Renault 3.5 car, a combo you can try in iRacing. What I love about this track is that you have, if I'm not mistaken, here in iRacing, 5 or 6 different configurations to go from anything from a small car to a Grand Prix car. So it adapts beautifully to anything you throw at it. And what are we throwing at it today? Well, we are, of course, dealing with the beautiful, fabulous Porsche GT3 Cup car, of course, the car for the Road World Championship in iRacing. I mean, the most prestigious and the biggest prize one, the Porsche Esports Super Cup, the latest version of the car, as you can see by the beautiful, continuously running taillight, a proving ground for sim racers and real-life drivers alike. A car with no ABS, no traction control, very sensitive brakes, and a beautiful sound is used in iRacing to determine the world champion on the road side, and in real life in the National Series for Porsche and in the Super Cup to basically provide both a platform for gentleman drivers but also for up-and-comers, and many of the drivers that go through the Porsche Cup program are then introduced and signed by Porsche themselves to be the representatives when they race in IMSA, in prototype competition, in GT3 competition, formerly in GT competition. So honestly, do well here, and you can have a pathway through the Porsche, factory programs and to the privateer programs as well, because Porsche has a very strong privateer offering both in prototypes now with the 963 and of course in GT3 racing and GT4. There is plenty of Porsches racing every day. And now it's time for qualifying, which has actually already started. Gianni Vecchio on board with him. We are exactly 41 seconds in, and we have a very, very nice packed grid for this race. And actually, I don't know, nobody will care about this, my first time commentating on a race at Aragon, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is my first time on a race at Aragon as well, and this is going to be a fun one because this track is very, very interesting. As I've looked more and more into it here, prepping for the broadcast today, I've really, really found that I like this track. And I'll tell you who does like the track, Gianni Vecchio, here with Team Redline, the 24-year-old driver, of course, representing Team Redline and now partnered with Verstappen.com Racing and Red Bull. Big deal there, and that is going to be a very, very good run that we'll get to see, because this is going to be a very, very competitive race all the way through as we watch the drivers run. And Marco, I will tell you, this track is very much licensed in several ways. It's MotoGP big. It runs the World Touring Car Cup. So it's very appropriate to have a Porsche here and just see where the drivers can land things. Of course, we see Vecchio there in the bottom left corner. Very cool, calm, and collected. And Marco, what is going to be the key to staying cool, calm, and collected as we run this track here through qualifying and these two heats that are coming up?
Well, it's very important to use all of the track you can see. This is a Grade 1 modern racetrack, of course, recently built and built by Hermann Tilke, who, of course, is the architect of most, if not all, of the F1 racetracks that have been introduced to the calendar, new since the late 90s onwards, starting from Sepang and, of course, moving the way forward. Also, another one of his tracks is here, even though many people don't know about it, which is, of course, Rudskogen Motor Center. It presents the characteristics of a Tilkedrome, the good and the bad of it. Some of the bad ones are, for example, turn 1, turn 14 and 15, which are right-angle corners, which Hermann Tilke loves. It also has turn 16, which is the one coming up here, which is a trademark Hermann Tilke corner, the tight hairpin after the long backstretch. It is in basically every racetrack he has designed, and we see Facundo Rago taking it. Right now it's going to be the premier passing spot for tonight. Every corner in this racetrack has a number and not a name, apart from two of them, back-to-back corners, well, three. Turn number 10, which is the Marc Marquez corner, and turn 8 and 9, which is called Sacacorchos, which in my limited Spanish I can tell you, believe it or not, that it means the corkscrew. So yes, this track has the corkscrew. Well, not as iconic as the one in Laguna Seca.
Oh, traditional Tilke circuits. We could start a conversation about that, but I won't. I will refrain from my conversation. But very general characteristics of an FIA Grade 1 circuit that I'm not surprised to see here. And it makes for some good racing, makes for some good moments, and makes for some interesting times. And as we ride on board here with Facundo Arago going down the hill and very, very comfortably running on the track here. Nice wide left-hander here to run down, hold on to it. Does very well. Keep the car together, and you can see these Porsches do present that unique challenge of no traction control, no ABS. It is truly a driver's car, and as we see times start to run through, Vecchio, of course, putting in our current provisional pole time, 1:59.442, but only 4 drivers of our, what do we have, 17, 18 drivers tonight running in here at AMX 10, but nevertheless, we're going to see them start to put in times as things go through, and we will continue to see times improve throughout this 15-minute qualifying session. And Marco, I am going to tell you that it is going to be competitive qualifying, competitive race. A lot of drivers right now are probably just putting in banker laps, if I had to guess. Right, Marco?
That's absolutely correct, because it's a very, very long lap. And if you go, it's one of those modern day racetracks. So you can see there is plenty of tarmac runoff. So it's very easy to, be a little bit too greedy and try to use more of what you can use in terms of track limits and have your lap time invalidated. Therefore, you want to get a lap time on the board to begin with and then start pushing. Now, it's a long track. Also, like I said earlier, another side effect of that, positive for the drivers, reduced number of cars near you. Hopefully, you can time your run well. You shouldn't have problems with traffic. Of course, the complete opposite of what we just had with, of course, the Oran Park race. And you can see modern day tracks in iRacing have 3 sectors, like it should be, not 15 like in many older tracks. This is mainly a bike track, and bikes like to use MotoGP and Superbike 4 sectors, and that is perfectly represented here. So I'm assuming that they are using the real life timing points during the lap. Current engine has 59.497 now. Simon De Mori, who didn't start despite being signed up in the AMX 0 race, is up into 3rd position. Gael Valero up into 4th with his black stripe, and Caio Gaspar is in 5th. We have tonight another black stripe racing here, of course, Pro or World Championship driver. Gael Valero is a World Championship driver, and the Pro driver is Victor Miranda. There he is, sitting in 3rd place with his... I still don't know why. Of course, he races in the Porsche Contender Series, no? I don't know why they can't have the Texaco sponsor in the Porsche Contender and Super Cup Series. It looks cool. It's a throwback to the barcode liveries for the tobacco sponsorships, 20 years ago. I'm assuming that maybe one of the sponsors of the Porsche Super Cup is like a petrol company, and so to avoid conflict of interest, they can't show it. Either way, it looks very, very cool to me. It's a clever way of obscuring the Texaco logo and make it look a bit nostalgic. So I totally dig that.
Yeah, I think it's I do think it's a sponsorship conflict of interest, which is modern day and age, and with the popularity of sim racing that's happened, you see that every once in a while. It does happen sometimes, but good news is it doesn't affect most other car track combos that we run. I think it is just specifically this one, but as you said, it still looks really good and it's still identifiable, so we can live with it. 13 of our 17 drivers have put in lap times at the moment, and Vecchio comes across 1:59.301, finds more time, then immediately pulls off and resets there, and we see Simon De Mori, who is coming around and through, trying to put in times, and doing a fairly good job there. It looks fairly competitive and comfortable. And again, fun things with iRacing, everyone has their niche. So for Simon De Mori, this may just be, his car track combo that he has, and it's fun to see these drivers really go through. I don't want people to be intimidated by us talking about having a pro and a world champion license here in AMX 10. Of course, to be in AMX 10, you must have a minimum of 2,000 iRating, which for most people is fairly obtainable and achievable. But when you look at these iRatings up and down the board, we've got 2.1K Nico Godoy all the way up to 9.7K for 2 of our drivers. Over 9,000 is huge in iRating. We've had drivers with over 10,000 iRating run in AMX 10 here in previous races. But don't let it intimidate you, because look at this. Simon De Mori, 3.3K iRating, but is putting in 2 minutes flat competitive times with Gianni Vecchio. And that is amazing to see up and down the field just how close things are. The times are very, very close, Marco, through the field. So it goes to show that with a bit of practice and a little bit of luck and a little bit of fighting the no ABS traction control setup with some counter steer, you can put in very, very strong times.
I was looking through the official rulebook because these things otherwise would have bugged me until bedtime later. And according to the Rule 2.12, it says that the vehicle liveries may not contain graphics, logos, brands, or other images conflicting with the series sponsors, especially Tag Heuer, Michelin, and Mobile One, which of course is a competitor of Texaco. So, yes, I'm now relieved that I can continue doing the commentary on the race we are doing. I'm sorry, but it has been bugging me for so long because this has been happening of course they use the same livery that they use, no use in making delivery twice, no? So they are presetting delivery on trading paints, and that's what we see on AMX. Of course, in AMX you can, there is no such problem with the conflict of interest for the Texaco sponsorship, and this is why. So, that out of the way, back to the commentary, as the time is running fast towards the 15-minute mark. We are 4 minutes away, as we were saying earlier. It is going to be a hard 15 minutes. The flag will wave, and that's going to be it. There is no extra time to finish your lap that you start, let's say, at 14:55. So you need to time your final run correctly if you want to try and gain as many positions as possible. We have a few drivers that are without a lap time. It's Pedro Moura, Nico Godoy, and Diego Villarreal. And one of these guys could be our lucky reverse pole winner. Of course, I'm assuming that one of the, all three will try to. Actually, all three have been trying to get a valid lap time in Brad, but they all had invalidated laps so far. And so, no time to show on the timing tower. They would be ordered by iRacing in the case none of the three of them is able to do a valid lap time. In that case, the driver with the highest rating will finish 15th. In this case, Pedro Moura, followed by Villarreal, 3.5k, we see in the graphics. 2.1k, Nico Godoy would start last, of course. But that's in the future. Let's focus on the present. Gael Valero races in the Porsche World Championship, and he will try to get pole position.
Yeah, you can see Gael Valero down in the bottom left laughing. A driver we've talked to several times here in AMX during the post-session interviews, and very, very comfortable here in the league. Has really settled things down. Keep your eyes on that timing bar at the bottom. Corentin Gunez with 2 purple sectors, second and third, was down in the first. Where does Corentin Gunez land across the line? It's a 2:05 there in P2, so losing out, or 1:59.4, so losing out a lot of time there in that second sector. But we will continue to watch drivers come through because we're at 12:51 of 15. And as you mentioned, Marco, as soon as the 15-minute timer hits, it is over and there is no chance to try to finish the lap you're on. So I hope you timed it right. Pedro Moura and Diego Villarreal, I believe, have timed it right because they are currently on push laps going through. Of course, Corentin Gunez there in P2 is going to be a driver that we should really, really keep our eyes on because we know Corentin Gunez is very competitive. As we've seen time and time again. Corentin Gunez is going to pull it over, though. Call it there. Rafael Casacuta is up in P13 at the moment with a 2:13 on his last lap. Dorado Ramos, Pedro Moura is coming through now. So Pedro Moura will come across with a time representative on the board. I don't think it's going to be fast, but it is going to be a time to represent. Riding on board with Gianni Vecchio here to finish out what is going to be his last complete lap as well as he goes down this long back straight that we talked about, Marco. But look at this. He's purple first sector, second sector, purple third sector. Is he going to get under 159 flat? That's a good question, Marco. Will he get under 159 flat?
We will know in just a few seconds as he's taking to the turn 16 hairpin. And now the narrow line into turn 17 and the left-hander of turn 18. As he's now seeing the start-finish line, the Italian sim racer based in Germany goes through 59.086, almost, but he won't complain about it.
Oh, that's a very, very, very strong time, and that sets a precedent there. But of course, remember, we invert the top 15, guys, so even then, Gianni Vecchio up there in P1, he'll win the money for being in pole position, but then we throw him right back into P15, and we can see there are no drivers left to really finish times, and that is going to be Howie in qualifying. Vecchio and Gunez, Victor Miranda, P1, P2, P3, and Marco. That's going to set up a good battle through Sector 1.
I think it's going to be a fantastic race. You see the session winner sponsored by BenQ with Gianni Vecchio, Corentin Gunez, and then Miranda and De Mori. Valero, Gaspar, Belziti, Lozano, Rago and Zamperlini, Fernandez, Gerardo Ramos, Rafael Casacuta, Jackson Hasenji will be starting behind him. Well, in theory, of course, because now they will be flipped. And Pedro Moura, of course, will be your pole sitter, and we are going to have pace lap.
I love a pace lap here in AMX because it gives us a nice moment to kind of relax, watch, see how things go, kind of talk about what we expect, and it's not unheard of for someone to ruin their race on a pace lap. Cough, cough, Ferrari, cough, cough.
It's interesting, Brad, because these cars in the official series and in the World Championship, they do a standing start. So it's going to be interesting to see them starting from a rolling start. We are on board with Corentin Guinet, of course, our driver who scored second position in the quali session. Gianni Vecchio, of course, scored pole position, and he will start behind him. Nico Godoy and Diego Villarreal, the two drivers who missed out on reverse pole. Gianni Vecchio, we are just waiting for him and for Rafael Casacurta, and then we should be good to go with the pace lap. 15 seconds left. Here comes Casacurta, and so in around 5 seconds the pace car will start moving and count up to 5 more or less. There we go.
I love the Porsche iRacing safety car. It is absolutely gorgeous. And of course, a Porsche pacing Porsches is a picturesque landscape, a picturesque picture to have. I'm trying to do some alliteration there and I'm not succeeding. So, Marco, turn 1, lap 1. Any carnage expected here? Of course, we have our really fast drivers back in the back, and then we bring in, with the reverse grid, put Pedro Moura, Jackson Resenje, Rafael Casacurta, Gerardo Ramos up front. Again, just for clarity, I'm not saying they're slow. I am just saying that the people who qualified on pole are now back in the mix of things. So, what do we expect here through the first few corners of action going into lap 1?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, of course, the way the first corner is shaped, again, it's an awkward right angle corner to the left, and it's very, very wide. So we'll see, especially when you get these reverse grids. I mean, even if you don't get the reverse grids, even if you don't get the rolling start, the reverse grid makes the cars that are a little bit slower start at the front. Now, of course, we have Moura and Hasenji who are anything but slow, starting in front of the field. So it's going to be interesting. If you get a bad start, this can create a sort of general slowdown, and drivers who starting maybe from the midfield will see an opportunity, an opening, but the way the corner is shaped, being basically a right angle, that can create some awkward situations that have to be resolved, sometimes with collisions, because the space is limited. So we'll see. It's going to be quite interesting. I think that this pace lap is also going to heighten up the tension. Drivers want to go racing, and the pace lap here is quite long. So this could be a very, very high-octane start to this race. Yeah,
I have a feeling as soon as that green flag drops, drivers are going to want to go, and it is going to be very, very spicy in the turn 1. Spicy is the choice word that I will use for my description of the first corner, first lap as things go. I do want to take a moment while we are on this pace lap to touch on something that I mentioned in AMX 0, but I want to make sure I mention it in AMX 10 again. We are, of course, associated now with the Korea Automobile Racing Association, which is, by extension, the FIA, of course. We are now a member of the FIA. What that means in the future, of course, official stewarding will be coming down the pipeline, and then some other fun things that are in the works that I won't comment on yet. I will allow the official announcements to happen in the future. And of course, if you want to see those official announcements before I can say them on a broadcast, amxrace.com and the AMX Discord is the place to do it. It's where you can talk to all the drivers. It's where you can interact with admin. It's where you can learn all the behind the scenes of the things that make AMX be AMX. And of course, a big thank you to everyone who has made that possible, because without the fun fans and drivers that participate in this league and watch this league, none of this would happen, and I would just simply be a man yelling at a screen, and all of us would simply just be yelling at screens, Marco. But we're about to hit start here as we hit that famous Tilke hairpin. So Marco, any last second predictions before the Porsche safety car peels off?
I'm going with Hasenji for this race. I think he's starting towards the front and he is very, very quick.
All right, I like the sound of it. Porsche safety car, iRacing safety car is off. Barney the flagman there on the right-hand side in the little cubby. And you can see the green flag waved, and now we're underway. And watch this, Pedro Mora and Jackson Resenje already putting up a challenge for each other. We're 5 wide there in the midfield. Look at that. That is not going to work going into the first left-hander, but they make it work. Nope, I lied. There's the 327 of Fabio Zamperlini into a wall. Look at this. Everybody checking up who's been collected in the mix. Kyle Gaspar, Fabrizio Belzini, Diego Gabriel, Gianni Vecchio there in the number 70 running around the outside, but up front it's Jackson Resenje with Pedro Mora going behind him there. Jackson Resenje does get the lead. Running wide there is Casapurta. Naraga will take advantage, and so will Gal Valero. Again, there is the 327 of Zamperlini running wide. Gianni Vecchio will want to take advantage of that as well, but in the lead, the Texaco cars, Jackson Resenje, Pedro Mora swapping positions, but Gerardo Ramos is going to be putting up pressure. And there's the number 19 up the inside. Quarantine Gunez will go up the inside. They're up 7 places already off the race start, getting his way into P7, putting pressure for P6. And the no traction control, no ABS, proving itself when the first corner is a 90-degree left-hander. And Marco, that was a fun little race start.
It was, and look at this, because there is big pressure for second place and big collision between Ramos and Mora, but Ramos pays the price, the bigger price, because he loses the car over the inside curb, I think, and then makes contact with his opponent, but he's the one who speeds. Mora is able to save the car. He lost a truckload of time to his teammate, now 2 seconds between Hasenji and Mora, but crucially, Mora was able to keep the car pointing in the right direction, even though now we will be surely under big pressure from Facundo Rago, Gael Valero, and Corentin Guinez, of course, the 2 Frenchmen, the rivals for the title, as the Apex Racing team driver goes for the move at the hairpin, gets it, and puts 1 car between himself and his long-standing rival, who goes for it on the inside of the final corner. Brave move.
Look at that replay at the bottom right. Look at all the cars just going around, just spinning like ballerinas. Again, no traction control, no ABS. This is a driver's car. This is where you really have to know those skills that you would have learned from the Renault Clio Cups. You really got to know how to feather the throttle and put the pedal down and force these cars around the corners and get them to hold the grip. You've got to know the edge of the tire. And that is where we're seeing some of those things show up here. Cortin Gunez, Gal Valero, P3, P4, the fellow countrymen going against the countrymen of Jackson Resenje and Pedro Mora. But watch this, Gianni Vecchio there, P8 moving up. Morty up into P6 now against Fernandez. And now, look at this, Gianni Vecchio going around the outside of Lozano and getting up into P8. And now Gianni Vecchio is going to pull Victor Miranda along as well. But up the inside is going to be Lozano. Lozano, they're not pulling onto it.
Problem for Mora.
Ooh, what has happened to Pedro Mora here? As we see Pedro Mora dropping way back again behind Lozano. So I think Pedro Mora has had a moment somewhere and has taken some damage possibly and is just dropping backwards, but trying to stay on the track. And it looks like possibly doing so at this point. Gal Valero putting pressure now on Jackson Resenje, trying to move his way forward, but 2.8 seconds is going to be the gap, but Jackson Resenje is going to know that it's Gal Valero there in the mix. And bottom right corner, Marco, there's the replay of the Gerardo Ramos crash, and it was that inside curb, as you said.
Yes, so basically Mora survived that one, but something else must have happened. I'm sure our fantastic production crew will show it to us soon enough, and has dropped down all the way to 9. Gianni Vecchio up into 6th place. Of course, speaking of the... Oh, we have a big lunge there from Victor Miranda, who gets the job done and knocks on the back bumper of the Team Redline driver. As I was saying, Gianni Vecchio, winner of the inaugural Italian official esports championship way back in 2020, in January of 2020, of course, and that was the very first event in Italy to have the official backing of the Automobile Club of Italy, and therefore was considered an official competition in the yearly series of events organized by the FIA in Italy. And so Gianni Vecchio was supposed to, of course, receive his prize at the annual prize giving, but it was 2020, and we all know how that ended. Anyways, this goes to show you the big opportunities that you can get when you get the national associations involved, and by proxy the FIA. Of course, FIA that finally recognized the existence of iRacing this year, when they finally announced the F4 regional leagues that then will culminate, as we see the crash for Pedro Moura, we were talking about earlier, will culminate in a global FIA powered F4 league coming soon. So finally the FIA has come to iRacing officially, and now also, of course, with the various unofficial leagues such as AMX. So awesome for somebody like me who's been in sim racing since the end of, well, I started sim racing in 2001, Brad. So I've got some slow experience in me. So it's incredible to see how much it has evolved.
Yeah, Marco, I'm not going to say what I was doing in 2001, but yeah, I definitely was not involved in sim racing in 2001. I'll tell you that much. Down the inside here is Vecchio with Miranda behind and Mori in front. Yeah, sorry, Marco, I didn't mean to say it like that, but yeah, we'll leave it there.
I mean, I'm happy for you, and I'm a bit jealous because it's interesting. At least the small consolation prize of me being old is that, of course, I've seen the evolution from basically what it was back at the beginning. Team Redline already existed when I started doing sim racing, by the way. And as I always like to say, after like 20 years of being slow on the track, I had the realization that maybe the commentary booth was my true place to be. As we have seen, AMX Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, it's always these two guys, Guinness and Valero, battling it out hard for second place.
Guinness and Valero don't know how to give each other a break. The countrymen really, really love to push each other around, and it's so much fun to see, but they really need to focus on that gap ahead, because 2.8 seconds the gap to Jackson Resenje at the halfway point. Of course, we are running this on an 8-lap timer, not a 20-minute timer this time, but Morty is in the mix as well, and look at this, Gianni Vecchio is getting up into the challenge as well, and we see, again, Fabrizio Belziti there on the leaderboard swapping positions with Pedro Moura. Pedro Moura swapping back, so a little bit of action there in the midfield going on, but this battle up front will never cease as long as these drivers are side by side. Gal Valero, Cortic Yunez, a lot of respect between these two drivers, of course, two fellow Frenchmen, but a lot of skill and pressure being given. Watch this, Gal Valero is going to go very defensive on the inside. Yunez thought about staying on the inside, but came back to the outside, and look in the screen behind the leaderboard. Gianni Vecchio was thinking about a dive there. Look at this, side-by-side, Valero, Yunez, and they go side-by-side through the right-hander, but look at that, a bit of a slip there from Yunez. I don't think he's able to hold on to it, but he is right on that rear bumper, Marco, and the dive into turn one is going to be possible. Is he going to do it? I think he's going to do it. Oh, and he does it. There we go. Oh, that's a good move, Marco.
That was absolutely fantastic. And behind him, we saw Gianni Vecchio going past Simon De Mori, and now it's going to be Gianni White. He has some damage in the third one crash. You can see the front bumper of his Team Redline Porsche Cup car looking a little bit, let's say that it needs like a little bit of workshop work to be done, but there is no such time for that, of course, in such a short race. And so now it's going to be Gianni Vecchio putting some pressure on Gal Valero. It seems like Corentin Guinez has pulled away now 3 seconds gap in 3.5 laps. Could be a bit too much, even for Corentin Guinez, especially because Jackson Resenje is a very, very fast driver. So we shall see about that, but the fight for the podium is going to be amazing. And look at Gianni trying to find a way past as I accidentally kicked my webcam. Thankfully, nobody was looking at me. Hopefully, it's not in public, behind the scenes, surely. I know he's getting so exciting, that my rig is falling apart.
Remember, production is always looking, but we see here Gianni Vecchio down the inside of Gaio Valero down the backstretch here. And remember, this is going to culminate in a hairpin left-hander, so he is in the good position. Look at that, number 17 getting in the mix as well, getting a little bit closed off though. But that is Victor Miranda, who is able to get the move done, and he is going to try to hold on, but he gets loose quickly in the rear end. And there we go, around the outside comes Gaio Valero's Gianni Vecchio up into P3, and now they need to set off on that 3-second gap. Victor Miranda, though, giving no relaxation for Gaio Valero or Simon Demori as they push through, and here we go, and there's a bit of a clobber on the rear end as we go back to that rear view camera, but Victor Miranda's able to hold on. Gaio Valero will drop into P6 here. Now it looks like Simon Demori is going to hold side by side though, but is Simon Demori going to let him go? I'm going to tell you no, because look at that. They're still side by side as they come through the left-hander here, and as they start to run around this section of the track. Again, a bit loose from Gaio Valero, a bit of a slip and slide run from these Porsches. They are really wanting to kick the rear end out today. And Simon Demori slots back in ahead of Gaio Valero, and Marco. Now it's up to Corentin Muniz and Gianni Vecchio to chase down Jackson Resenje. 2.7 seconds in 2 laps. Is it doable? I think I know your answer.
Maybe not, but you never know in sim racing. So we'll keep an eye on that. I like that the production guys are focusing on Gaio Valero because this is an uncharacteristic drop from him. Maybe he has some damage or something, because when he's at the front of the field fighting for the podium or for the win, he's usually always there, but he is falling backwards, even down to 6th place. And so a weird race for the Apex Racing Team driver, as we see Gianni Vecchio pushing to make the move on Corentin Muniz on the outside, even before the braking area. That was a fantastic move despite the damage. And so Gianni is up into 2nd place now. The gap, of course, after this overtake, 2.5 seconds between the Team Redline driver and Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan. 2-0-1 flat. I love when they do like that. 0-0-0 after the point, the decimal there. So good lap on Resenji. He has to hold on for 2 more laps. So you can see the comparison between the 3 drivers on the podium right now. The pace of the chasers is better than the pace of the leader, but the leader has got 2 seconds in his pocket. So he should be able to.
It was a 2-minute 1 flat for Jackson Resenje on the last lap, but it was a 1:59.6 for Gianni Vecchio. So it is possible for that Team Redline driver to catch up, because the 4th sector alone, he was 0.8 faster than Jackson Resenje. So it is doable here as we are on lap 7 of 8, the penultimate lap. As we go around here, and look at this, he's gaining a bit of time already against Resenje. Resenje 34 flat in the 1st sector, another 000 for you there, Marco. And now 31.9, 0.6 of a second faster in sector 2. Look at this, 1.2 seconds now the gap. Jackson Resenje, I think, is trying to keep a little bit in his pocket here, so that way he can go flat in the final lap and try to defend against Gianni Vecchio. But is it going to be enough, or is he trying to conserve too much? That is the question. And I think it's going to be answered here within the next 2 laps. But also remember, we invert the top 15 after this, and we do another 8 laps. So this is still all to play for. We have 8 more laps after this, technically. But it is considered a new heat. And of course, remember, we pay between heats. So Jackson Resenje needs to hold on as hard as he can going into this final lap. And you can see him, look at the concentration on his face. He's just sitting there. He is trying as hard as he can to muscle that car around. But I will say, Marco, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass. But Gianni Vecchio, 0.8 of a second here as we go into the final lap now, Marco.
Oh man, that lap was incredible for Gianni Vecchio. 1 second and a half faster than Jackson Hasenji. I mean, I might have to eat a slice of humble pie, you know, because all of a sudden it looks like Gianni and Corentin can really pose a threat on Jackson, who I'm sure, like you were saying, is going to be a tough driver to overtake, and he's going to make that Porsche as big as he can. But that backstretch with the big draft and the hairpin could be the decisive moment. Don't count Corentin Guinness out of the race win.
Three-way battle for the race win here as we go through the corkscrew section, and you can see the lines that Gianni Vecchio is taking compared to Jackson Rasinje. Jackson Rasinje is really trying to just figure things out here. He's got to keep something in his pocket. He's got to do something to defend, and Corentin Guinness just needs to be there in the mix. If something goes wrong between these two and Corentin Guinness is there, he can snatch this race win from both of them. And again, we've seen that happen in AMX. But look at this, the gap 0.2 of a second as they come out onto this long backstretch that leads into this sharp left-hander. And this is going to be the moment where things are all to play for, because here we go. Slipstream, Jackson Rasinje getting a little swirly here, trying to break the slipstream from Gianni Vecchio. And here we go. Jackson Rasinje is going to choose to defend the inside. He's going to force Vecchio to go the long way around. Vecchio's going to switch it back on the inside. Jackson Rasinje caught out there, caught napping, essentially, as Gianni Vecchio snatches it into the final corners here and will bring it around to win Heat 1. Jackson Rasinje got caught out there, absolutely napping. He did not think that that was going to happen. And Corentin Guinness, by 7/100ths of a second, will be in P3. That is what we call competitive racing all the way through the field.
Wow, these cars are so tricky to drive and to point in the right direction and so unstable. The move there from Gianni was incredibly brave, and I don't blame Jackson for not expecting that, because that was absolutely crazy. Fantastic overtake, and well, another race, the second out of 3 tonight, has decided on the last lap. So I mean, we are in for a good one. And Gianni Vecchio, I mean, looking good. Pole position, fastest lap, and race win, despite being involved. You see the damage in the front of the car in the first lap calamity that happened. So wow, what a race for the team Redline driver. And Hasenji, nothing to be said about, because he was absolutely fantastic. And again, my prediction was wrong.
See, that's why we don't play bets, though, because playing bets would lose me a lot of money that I don't have. But take a bow, Gianni Vecchio, because you have won qualifying and you've won Heat 1 with the fastest lap. So now we're going to throw you back into P15. Can you get the Triple Crown? Our BenQ session winner, Gianni Vecchio, here with Jackson Rasinje in P2, who defended like a lion up until the final corners, and then just got absolutely caught on the inside there with a beautiful move that you would only expect on a last lap lunge. Corentin Guinness there in P3, who stayed in the mix all the way through. And then you can see the rest of the names through. Some of the big mentions, I want to mention Gerardo Ramos finishing P10, Rafael Casacurta finishing P14, and of course Nico Godoy finishing down in 17th place after that lap one moment there. Same with Diego Villarreal finishing down in 16th after that lap one moment. But now, let's invert the top 15 real quick, Marco. Let's do another pace lap, and let's bring another 8 laps of action here to the Spanish countryside.
Oh yes, they were saying during the race 1 at Aragon. They were saying in the chat, Fernandez Prasima. Of course, Fernandez going to the top. Well, he is to the top right now. We start in pole position next to his teammate Rafael Casacurta. So it's going to be interesting. Zamperlini and Gaspar and Moura will basically follow in an all-Brazilian top 5. So it's going to be a nice one as the drivers are rolling. And you can see the official starting order for the second race for AMX 10 tonight. with Gianni Vecchio, of course, starting 15th again, and Diego Villarreal missing out together with Nico Godoy on the reverse position. So, well, race 1 was very good, and I'm expecting more of the same. Now, I just hope that the drivers have learned that turn 1 can be a little bit tricky. So, because unfortunately we lost the only downside of that race, I say that it was a fantastic race, that we lost 3 or 4 cars in turn 1, which you know, could have put even more spiciness on the proceedings, even though one of the cars in board ended up winning the race despite a little bit of damage to the. So we shall see as the cars are reaching the 7th turn, and now they will turn to the right, I suppose. There they are. In turn 8 and 9, this is the corkscrew we were talking about, El Sacacorchos, as is it called. And then the exit of the corner is turn 10, this long left-hander. That's the other corner that has a name, Marc Marquez's corner, of course, the legendary MotoGP world champion, still, of course, active, still going strong, and next year, of course, moving incredibly for a driver of his talent to a privateer Ducati team. You can see the beautiful. I love this brick wall here. It's a defining characteristic of the racetrack, in my opinion. This will be turn 12 to 15, which will lead us onto the long backstretch, and the hairpin, in which, of course, we have seen race 1 be decided with a fantastic last lap overtake by Gianni. So you asked me for a prediction in race 1. I'm going to turn the tables on you and ask you a prediction, Brad, for race 2.
I'm going to play the safe prediction, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Gianni Vecchio is going to win. And if Gianni Vecchio does win, then my prediction was right. And if Gianni Vecchio doesn't win, then we had a good race all the way through, and it means there was action all the way through. And either way, we're having a fun race, and I was right. So there's my prediction for you, Marco. I'm playing it safe down the backstretch. Very, very amazing pace that we've seen from that Team Redline driver here in these Porsche Cup cars. They just seem to be his bread and butter. And so I'm going to play it safe. That is, with the Vegas GP coming up, that's one of the things they teach you in Vegas is always play the safe bets if you don't want to lose money. So I'm going to stick with that.
Awesome. Well, that's a pretty comprehensive explanation, as we see the two teammates leading the way into turn 1. Danilo Fernandez and Rafael Casacurta. They will take to the final corner in just a second. They are coming out of the hairpin. That's turn number 18 coming up, and after that it will be time to go racing. Actually, we already are.
Wasting no time getting us underway here. The drivers up front, Fernandez and Casacurta, just opting to go very quickly out of the hairpin. They back things up on the backstretch, which was a good decision here. As we see Fabio Zamperlini and Casacurta both running wide there, letting Pedro Mora go through. And turn 1, a lot less chaos than we saw last time, but is turn 2 going to be the problem now? As we see there were 3 wide there near the back, but Gerardo Ramos through, and there we go. Gerardo Ramos in that number 69 trying to hold on down the inside there, as we see drivers going very, very wide here through the left-hander, and that was one of our front leaders, Casacurta, who is dropping back little by little. And there we go, losing more time now. Up the inside, 3 wide, he pops the curb a little bit. Gianni Vecchio is through as well. Sorry, Gianni Vecchio. I don't know why I said that like that, but he's through, and look at this. Gianni Vecchio up into P10 now, make that P9, potentially with a pass around the outside around Lozano, and it looks like he may be able to make this stick through the long left-hander, but front of the grid here, things are very, very well holding on together, Marco, but you can see Team Redline means business here, and so does Gianni Vecchio. He means a lot of business, trying to still get around Lozano. And Marco, as he does that, it looks like all of our drivers have mostly survived this lap 1 as compared to heat 1.
Yeah, the big loser, of course, like you were saying earlier, is Casa Curta, who's dropped down into 15th place from the front row, and now Ramos, who was sitting in 5th place, is now the last of the running cars.
What happened to Gerardo Ramos? And now up the inside goes Kyle Gaspar. And look at that, Pedro Mora might try to dive as well, as we see Fernandez trying to defend it, not able to defend the inside there. Is through Fabio Zamperlini up on Victor Miranda, and we can see that drivers are just going through. That hairpin is such a good passing opportunity, but now becomes the problem of it through lap 1, and now you've got to defend it for the rest of the time. And this is where we're going to start seeing the real challengers appear on this car and track combo. Fabio Zamperlini under a lot of pressure by Victor Miranda, but you can see that Victor Miranda has a lot of pace. Fabio Zamperlini knows how to defend, and will he defend it? He's trying, he's going to push Victor Miranda hard. Fabio Zamperlini will run very wide and actually lose the position there. Now he's got a teammate there for company who might be thinking about passing him as well.
So Belziti slotting past him as we move back to front, where Gaspar leads the way over Fernandez, Mora, Miranda, Zamperlini, Belziti, Valero, Vecchio, Guinness, and Lozano. Your top 10, Jackson Hasenji down in 11th. De Mori, Rago, Casacurta, Godoy, and Ramos again. I don't think that Diego Villarreal has taken the green flag at the beginning of the race. So that's a bit sad. Yes, or if he no, sorry, my mistake. He is on the track. I think he's one lap down, so maybe something has happened. Maybe connection trouble, etc. etc. Sorry, that was Italian slipping. As we see the move from Miranda on Mora.
The teammates passing each other here. Marco's letting his Italian slip, and I'm forgetting how to speak English. So it is just a normal day here in AMX, and you have to love it. As we see the slipstream in the backstretch is going to start playing to much effect here, as we see drivers trying to get around other drivers. Fabrizio Belziti trying to go through on the inside, and as we see that, we see the replay in the bottom left of Gerardo Ramos' spin. I thought he had contact, but no, Gerardo Ramos just lost it on his own. The track just 3 wide through the hairpin. What is happening? I'm trying to look down, up, down, up. I can't keep track of all of these things at once, but it is okay because Gal Valero is going to keep his way in P5, and Gianni Vecchio will be in P7 now as he gets past fabulous Fabio Zamperlini. But watch this, dive up the inside for P6, maybe P5. Hard on the brakes there, and he's going to get tapped by the Texaco driver, but he's able to hold on to it. 3 wide again coming out of turn 1, because look at this. That is going to be Fabio Zamperlini. Cortegudas, fabulous Fabio is going to spin and be taken away from this battle in the front. He'll drop his way down to P14. It's Gerardo Ramos to keep him company now for the rest of this race. So drivers not wasting time trying to move forward here in the heat. Corentin Gunes there, of course, representing the French colors in a French livery. Now trying to chase down Gianni Vecchio, who is trying to chase down Gal Valero. And they are all chasing after Kyle Gaspar in the lead all the way up there, several seconds up the field. But it's a tight battle here in Heat 2, Marco. And I'm not going to say anything too crazy, and I'm not going to jinx anything, I promise.
And unfortunately, there was no space there for 3 cars, and Fabio Zamperlini paid the heavy price as Miranda moves... because Gaspar is off. The race leader is off.
Gaspar losing it there in that hard braking zone for the left-hander, and that is an unusual moment to see for him. That's not something I'm used to seeing for Gaspar. Gaspar actually resetting the pit, so I don't know what could have happened there. There's the replay of Zamperlini's spin. Yeah, he just got tucked there in the left rear, and I think that was actually Corentin Gunes that kind of tucked him there in the left rear. Now watch this, Gianni Vecchio getting past Fabrizio Belziti, now up into 4th place, trying to chase on the lead. And look at this, Corentin Gunes now has Fabrizio Belziti in his sights as well. Jackson Rasenjay is past Mora is past Mori, and Rago and Casacurta. There's some battles in the midfield, but again, keep your eyes up on the front, because that is where the big points paying places are, and that is where things are getting really, really spicy through, because Gal Valero is now going to be seeing that Team Redline car behind, and for the blue car, the red car is not what he wants right behind him. And
interesting from behind the scenes. Yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
Marco, I'll let you say it. Go ahead. All yours.
Okay. Apparently, our fantastic production crew has spotted some ominous-looking puffs of smoke from the car of Caio Gaspar. Now, in iRacing, we don't have random failures because it's a fair esports competition. But you can have failures because you abuse your car, especially downshifting too quickly in this car could be a problem. You can go too hard on the engine, and apparently, that's what happened to Gaspar. So, fantastic catch from our production crew, and that's an unusual way because at these levels, it's kind of difficult to make a mistake that, it's a mistake that I make, sometimes, especially with the skip barber. There is no ref protection, but as I was saying earlier, expect the unexpected. Here we go with the replay. So he's going, and there's the engine. Yes, clear as day.
Kyle Gaspar using a quick repair, I believe, resetting into the pits, but Gaspar will now be several laps down, and that is unfortunate. Look up on the screen, Gianni Vecchio up into P2 here, Gal Valero P3, Kyle Gaspar, Corte Gunez trying to go up the inside. And he does get up the inside there of Fernandez. So Vecchio, Valero, Gunez, all fighting very, very hard with each other. But now they have the challenge to chase down Victor Miranda. Victor Miranda 2.7 seconds up the road and running very competitive lap times. However, as we saw in Heat 1, Vecchio does have the pace. Valero and Gunez also have the pace. Keep up Vecchio, who can chase down Miranda. As we set up, there's 3 laps to go here, Marco. This is where things are going to get very, very competitive. I hope everyone is holding their breath because the action is far from over here in AMX 10.
Yes, and this is going to be fantastic because for what we've seen in race 1, Vecchio has the pace to go and catch the leader. Let me say, this is showing, by the way, that Valero must have had some damage in race 1 because he's now comfortably holding the same pace as Gunez, as Vecchio. So, that drop in form in race 1 was probably due to damage. But as I say that, he loses a bunch of time to Vecchio in a couple of corners, and now he's opening the door. And remember, the Valero versus Gunez fight is also probably what will be at the end of the season the fight for the championship, that fantastic next level racing rig that's available for the champion of AMX 10. So let's keep an eye on this fight as we also keep track. Maybe Valero and Gunez themselves will focus more, Brad, now on their fight than on going to try and catch Gianni Vecchio, who's not in, as of today, not in realistic contention for the title. He might be, because there is still a long way to go. And so we could have 2 battles for the price of 1, which is, of course, none for you amazing viewers watching on YouTube and Twitch.
I love 2 battles for the price of 1. It makes things so much harder on me, but it makes things so much more fun to watch. As we see here, Corte Gunez 0.3 of a second off, but look at that gap between Vecchio and Miranda. It's already down to 1.7 seconds because Vecchio was over a second faster that last lap. But look at this, Valero and Gunez staying within touching distance at least of Vecchio, so they can try to hang on there, but he's going to continue to pull a gap as things go. But as you mentioned, Marco, Valero and Gunez, this is going to be the big battle because there are a lot of things at play as we go lap 6 of 8 here, and I am enjoying this. Look at that, a little bit wide from Gal Valero. Corte Gunez will see that, try to peek it up the inside. Is he close enough for a run up the inside? We see Valero going wide there, and he's going to just slam the door shut on Gunez. Very, very good defensive move there as he just shuts the door going into the right-hander. And now they come into the corkscrew, and they are just going to have to set things up here. And there it goes. Gunez a little bit better on traction, and Valero running wide here, and he is going to have to concede the position, and that is where things go. But Gunez now running wide, and Valero will switch it back around on him. And here we go, because things are going to stay very, very close as we hit the left-handers here. And now they are in through this bus stop-ish area of the track, and now Yunez is ahead of Valero, but for how long is that? Because the backstretch is another good passing opportunity. And it's one thing to pass, it's another thing to keep the position, just like it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass. Now, watch these two down the back straight. How does Yunez defend this? Marco, does he defend this? Or does he just let Valero go and try to get him into turn one?
See, Valero will probably go for it, because when these two guys race against each other, they don't play nice. And immediately Valero gets the position back, but it goes a little bit too deep. Maybe that's what was Guinness banking on. And that is how Corentin gets back in front. And now I think for good, because this is going to be a bit of a stretch to close this gap into laps. I know it's only half a second, but Valero's, again, better, much better in race 2 than in race 1. But still, I don't think he feels completely at ease with this current track combination, which is what we do here at AMX. We throw these drivers into the deep end, switching from TCRs at Oran Park to Porsche Cup cars at Aragon in the span of basically half an hour. Now, Victor Miranda and Gianni Vecchio. The gap was like this for Gianni Vecchio to the leader earlier with 1 lap to go. Now the gap is the same with 2 laps to go. So, on paper, it's looking good for Gianni. But, we were saying earlier, you need to make the overtake. So, let's see.
My prediction has yet to come true, but it could come true, so I'm just saying. I didn't call it, but I might have called it. Gianni Vecchio here, half a second back on Victor Miranda, and it looks like he is going to have some good pace here. And again, you know, these drivers, just because they see a Team Redline car behind them, they do not care. They're racing drivers. They're going to compete. They're going to make it hard. They're not going to say, oh, you're Team Redline. Okay, here you go. Victor Miranda is going to defend this like his life depends on it. And while his life doesn't depend on it, he's going to feel like his life depends on it, because the bragging rights about beating Gianni Vecchio would be very nice. You can see him going very defensive here, swerving down the back straight, trying to hold on to what he can, doing cheeky on the swerving there, but Gianni Vecchio doing very well to hold on. And look at this, he's closing this gap up here, and now he is probably setting up a turn 1 pass, if I had to guess. Here we go through the right-hander. Here we go onto the main straight now, the start-finish straight, and the gap 0.2 of a second here, 0.3 of a second if I can read. And now it's going to be just a matter of, can he get this pass done into turn 1? He's going to close the gap here. We're on the final lap, but it does look like it is very, very close all the way through. Now it is just a matter of, who can land where, because of course we still have that battle for P3 to figure out as well, Marco.
Yes, I was expecting, like you, for Gianni to go for it in turn 1, but maybe he likes that backstretch opportunity. Now, of course, if you wait until that corner where he made the overtake in race 1, you basically leave yourself only that, and if that goes badly, there is no chance of having another move, another go at the leader. But we've seen earlier, he can make overtakes come from out of nothing, and so we'll see. It's Miranda versus Vecchio. They are coming out of the Marc Marquez corner, and now they will enter the small complex, which will lead us into the backstretch and the last chance saloon for Gianni Vecchio to do what I think Brad is hinting at, but doesn't want to say, because it's like a perfect game in baseball. You don't talk about it. Let's see.
Vecchio half a second back on Victor Miranda here, coming out of this bus stop section onto the backstretch. This is the last opportunity he's going to have to try to get the pass, and it's actually 0.7 of a second. But look at this, as Victor Miranda is again doing everything he can to break that toe, and Gianni Vecchio is doing everything he can to keep that toe. Victor Miranda, I did want to mention, does have a pro license here in iRacing and might be able to defend this through. Gianni Vecchio might not be close enough for a go at it. He's going to make a lunge. Is Gianni Vecchio going to lose it here at the end? He breaks traction coming out of the hairpin. So Gianni Vecchio not able to get the pass done. And as we hit the final corner going to the main straight, it is going to be Victor Miranda that wins race 2. So Gianni Vecchio, again, you don't talk about the perfect game, but the Triple Crown dropping just right out of his grasp. He still had the fastest lap here in Heat 2. Not able to get the win, and in the end, that P3, P4 battle is settled there. Oh, Jackson Resenje, 0.1 of a second off of Fernandez there. I was going to say Guinness and Valero settling things there, P3, P4 for them. And now we still have the end of the field to figure out. Pedro Mora comes out behind Lozano, and now Casacuta. Godoy will come through the Ramos, and we are looking at Diego Villarreal, who did get out on the track, and now it's just a matter of waiting on Diego Villarreal to finish the race. And then, of course, Fabio Zamperlini and Kyle Gaspar had some unfortunate moments. And with such a long track, again, we do have a bit of field spread. But Marco, that was almost 2 Triple Crowns in one stream.
Oh, you're right. And I think in the span between turn 12 and turn 15 in the final lap, Miranda was fantastic. He was able to do those sequence of corners as fast as he ever did all night. And that made him gain that little bit of an advantage that makes it impossible for Gianni to close the gap on the backstretch and pull a repeat of race 1 on Victor's teammate, of course, Jackson Hasenji. Fantastic race, and we were, one step away from perfection in back-to-back races, but we don't have it, and so the chase will continue for another double, triple crown, but nonetheless, we've had some fantastic racing action from Oran Park, from Motorland Aragon. We are going to have the results from race 2. Here they are with Victor Miranda bringing home the BenQ Session Winner Award in front of Gianni Vecchio and Corentin Guinez, and of course $40 for Victor Miranda. Then we have Valero, Belziti, Fernandez, Hasenji, Facundo Rago, Simon De Mori, Mauricio Lozano, Pedro Mora and Rafael Casacurta, Nico Godoy, Gerardo Ramos, Diego Villarreal, Fabio Zamperlini, and last but not least, on the lead lap, mind you, in the end, Caio Gaspar. So, that's all she wrote for race 2, but now, as is tradition, we are going to get some interviews. Before that, let's look at our beautiful faces once again as we wrap up on the action, Brad. That was, I think, a very enjoyable night of racing in perfect AMX style.
Yeah, that was a summation of AMX. Of course, Victor Miranda able to hold on against Gianni Vecchio there. In the end, in what seemed impossible, really, Corentin Guinez and Gaio Valero just presenting a perfect Frenchman battle. You said it, since season 1, those two have battled out very, very hard. And of course, seeing heartbreak, seeing action, it's everything that I've come to expect here from AMX. It's fun. And even the same thing with AMX Zero, lots of action in AMX Zero top to bottom. And it's, a sum up of everything we see in AMX. We see heartbreak, we see action, we see moments that leave you speechless. I'm pretty sure, Marco, both you and me at some points were just speechless. Because it's crazy. I threw some silly puns in there because, hey, you got to have some fun. But it's what makes this league fun. And, of course, I do want to mention again, of course, being, affiliated with the FIA and the Korea Racing Association is going to add a lot of fun things in the future. And it's going to just increase the level of racing, increase the level of competition, and really, really take the league up to another tier.
I absolutely agree with you, Brad. I think we are ready for the interviews. So just a minute of wait as behind the scenes we get everything ready. And then we will reappear on your screen for the interviews. Don't go away. And here we are with Gianni Vecchio. Gianni, buonasera. How are you doing?
Tutto bene, tu? All good on my side.
All good. Fantastic performance from you. Let's start with race 1, that fantastic last lap overtake. Even more special because you got damage, of course, we saw in the lap 1 crash. So tell us about your race 1.
Yeah, I was a bit chaotic at the start. I thought like my number one rule is always turn 1, always take the inside to stay out of the shenanigans. Didn't work quite well. I got caught up. I still have to check what actually happened, but yeah, it was a bit unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, from then on was just I was on the hunt, trying to get the others, and then in the end that was a bit risky, but I was really confident with my braking point there, and I just knew when I had to brake, so that was my only chance. I had to, if you don't get the inside there, you can't pass, and I went for it, worked out, and that was the win for me.
In race 2, more of the same. It seemed like during the last lap, between turn 12, 13, you lost a little bit of ground to your opponent, and that caused you to not have as close as a gap as you wanted to go for another move into the hairpin in the last lap.
Yeah, I took too much life out of my tires there. I was a bit too aggressive. I think I could have had him, but yeah, I mean, it was a bit too aggressive on my side. Would have loved to get the second win as well, but wasn't supposed to be it. It is what it is. Shit happens.
I mean, it was a victory, pole position, 2 fast laps, so all in all a very nice night of action for you. Before we let you go, Gianni, any sponsor you would like to thank? Anyone? All yours.
Obviously the AMX guys. Yeah, SimCube, SimLab. Yeah, all of our sponsors, of course, and yeah, obviously thanks for you guys to host this, and yeah, make sure that we can win some bucks on a Saturday afternoon.
Awesome. That was Gianni Vecchio for Team Redline. Congratulations, winner of race 1. And we are back with Corentin Guinée. Welcome to the booth once again.
Hello.
Tell us about your night. Has been quite eventful and with some good finishes as well.
Yeah, it was good. Clio has been blast, to be honest, winning the 3 sessions. So yeah, didn't really expect that, especially because round pack doesn't give you that much overtake opportunities, I would say. It's quite tricky because there is basically no runoff, so the only mistake you make is basically the tire wall. But yeah, very happy with the AMX 0, and then yeah, AMX 10, very surprised because like I did maybe 20 or 15 minutes of practice, and then surprisingly got the pace. So yeah, just managed to keep the car on track, and yeah, got good result as well. Again, I think I could have done a bit better sometimes. Lost a bit too much time with the traffic, but yeah, I'm very, very happy with the evening.
Of course, that in AMX 0 was the first ever AMX 0 Triple Crown, pole position, fast laps in both races and win in both races, so congratulations. And for AMX 10 instead, we are getting towards the back end of the season. There is not a lot of races left. The fight for the AMX 10 title is getting close to being solved. How are you feeling about it? What are your hopes for the remainder of the season in AMX 10?
Yeah, I got to be close. I was watching at this actually before the evening, and yeah, I saw that Gael was pretty close, but yeah, we will see. I guess sometimes, yeah, I think it's better on cars and maybe better on the others. So yeah, it's gonna be close till the end. Also, we're gonna have to, I think, manage the race. Just not being caught into any troubles. So yeah, I think not being caught into troubles will be the key, especially with the reverse grid. So yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, I guess, till the end.
And for you as well, if you have anyone to shout out, this is your moment.
Yeah, to all the MX guys for the massive work they're doing, put this all together, and you guys obviously on the broadcast, and to the team, SimRC, for the support.
Awesome, that was Corentin Guinev, the Triple Crown winner from Oran Park. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
And we are back.
Ooh, there's the double talk for setting up those interviews. So, but you know what, Marco? I think it's been a good, successful Saturday evening, Saturday afternoon. And in less than 24 hours, we get to do it all again. And I cannot wait to do it again.
Absolutely, and thanks for bringing it on, because we are going to do a more, let's say, structured and by AMX standards, very normal kind of evening. We will be in Europe, Hockenheim first and Barcelona second. Hockenheim race GT4 and for Barcelona GT3, so natural progression, you know, just like those nights where we have Clio Cup and TCR, for example. So it's going to be interesting tomorrow, and I'm going to be a spectator for sure. It's going to be quite a nice, especially because the two cars are similar-ish. I'm expecting two very big grids with many drivers doing both races, because it's a nice way of keeping GT4, GT3, Hockenheim, Barcelona. Nice Sunday of racing ahead of us.
It's going to be a very, very good Sunday. And if you want to get involved in that Sunday of racing, of course, AMXrace.com is the place to do it. I do want to shout out Automatics, BenQ, Next Level Racing, and Upbit for sponsoring us. Of course, Marco, as always, all of the socials are on the bottom. So if you want to get involved, this is the way to be involved in the league, down on the bottom. And Marco, it's been good to commentate with you. I haven't seen you at all this season, so it's good to get behind the mic with you for once.
Oh, it was a pleasure for me as well. Thank you so much, Brad. We've had a lot of fun, and we've had history in race 1 and almost history in race 2. Let's see if other commentators can top that tomorrow.
Absolutely. In less than 24 hours, we do it all again. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for more action here with AMX Global.